Smart Dust project was funded by DARPA for military applications, specifically for rapid deployment of defense sensor networks onto the battlefield. Battlefield sensing is inherently about detecting people who don't know that they're being detected. The invisibility and undetectability are deliberate design priorities. This technology appeared in the public with U.S. Patent 11354-666B1, Smart Dust Usage, which was filed on May 26, 2016, and granted on June 7, 2022. It is assigned to Wells Fargo Bank and describes a system for authenticating a user making a payment using Smart Dust. Smart Dust is technically known as MEMS, Microelectromechanical Systems, and is comprised of what are called motes. A mote is a single, self-contained microsensor node. Each mote measures 1 cubic millimeter or less and is roughly the size of a grain of sand. These motes are released as clouds, with thousands of sensor nodes simultaneously sampling the target from multiple angles and positions. The biometric data being collected includes location, facial and body recognition, heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, breath rate, voice recognition, and fingerprint scanning. The system is designed to create a unique cryptographic signature for every individual based on biological and behavioral data, and is designed to operate without being noticed. The patent describes the motes as a cloud around the user, but UC Berkeley researchers have successfully implanted Smart Dust sensors into rats in order to monitor and control nerve and muscle activity. This technology requires no batteries and relies on ultrasound to draw power. Scientists claim that for humans, internal Smart Dust devices could monitor vital signs and could enable control over prosthetics and robotic limbs. In March 2022, the University of Washington's Dandelion breakthrough, partially funded by the U.S. Air Force, deployed tiny battery-free wireless sensors by wind, inspired by dandelion seeds. The senior author stated that, "Our prototype suggests that you could use a drone to release thousands of these devices in a single drop." In 2024, a large blanket of fog affected the United Kingdom, the USA, and Canada. Over 20,000 travelers in the UK and 3.8 million drivers in the USA were impacted. People described it as a thick blanket of fog with a particle-like appearance, which had an odd chemical, electrical, or burning smell to it. And many people claim to experience fever, coughing, sore throat, headache, and fatigue after exposure. The fog hit during the Christmas and New Year travel period, when millions were moving around for the holidays. A second patent, US 11748-578B1, Predictive Text System, was filed in November 2021 and granted on September 2023 to Wells Fargo Bank. This patent describes a system that uses neural networks and machine learning to analyze and predict your financial thoughts and intentions in real time as you type. Combined with the biometric data from Smart Dust, this creates a system that can monitor both what you're physically doing and what you're thinking about financially. A predictive behavioral surveillance system designed to be always on and continuously learning. This is the exact infrastructure needed for implementing a social credit system. The Smart Dust market was valued at $153.9 million in 2024 and is estimated to grow at a compound annual growth rate of over 14.3% from 2025 to 2034. Industrial use has increased significantly in 2023 and 2024, with integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms now allowing Smart Dust devices to analyze data locally and make autonomous decisions. This technology is currently moving from laboratories to public deployment, which has naturally caused concern. In the 1950s and 60s, the U.S. Army conducted open-air biological and chemical tests over American cities without public knowledge or consent. Greg Reese reporting.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Diamond Report Live. We are here yet again. How about that Reese report? Thought that was a good one. Yes. Smart Dust, building out the Beast system infrastructure. Sounds like to me, at least in part. And Miss Emily is asking about, why are these patents being held by Wells Fargo? Yeah, that's a really good question. And it just kind of points back to the fact that the bankers run everything, which is something Mr. Dane, I know, has been saying for a long time, as many others have as well. So hello and welcome. You are at the Diamond Report Live. It's 9:06 p.m. on May 3rd, 2026. This is your host, Doug Diamond. Hope you guys had a great week this week. And let's take a look at the news. We have, again, like always, tons and tons to look at. So hopefully we can squeeze it all in. And I don't have any lead stories necessarily. I just have my X page pulled up. Just thought I would remind folks, if they want to follow along on X, that is something that I do use often as far as reposting things and then posting the videos of this actual show. So it ends up on X. Don't have too many followers on there, but I'm not real active on there. Mostly reposting other people's stuff, seems like, and then the videos for this show. That's primarily it. But hoping to engage a little bit more on there. We'll see how things go. Everyone is limited with their time, and I am definitely in that category. So yes, it is x.com/the Diamond Report, but report is abbreviated. It's RPRT. I don't know why I had to do that, but I did. It wouldn't all fit. The Diamond RPRT. That means the Diamond Report. You could just do a search for it and find it most likely. And let's see here. Looking to see what. Oh yeah, this is this kind of explains it all from the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Now we know exactly what happened. This is the top security at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Turns out it was really just a Cheeto keeping everyone from breaking in and shooting the president. So isn't that nice? Yeah. Cheetos are pretty handy for things. Let's see what else we have here. I came across this and thought it was pretty apropos as well. And we will look at the epic ballroom, spelled B-A-A-L, or Baal room. We'll look at that as well. Just some reminders on what Trump has said in the past about the ballroom and perhaps where it's headed. I don't know. There's a lot of rumors about that. So we'll take a look at that as well tonight. And again, as per usual, we have lots to talk about. But Donald J. Trump holds all the cards. And turns out it's just Uno wild cards. Thought that was funny too. It's a good one. All right, let's look at the news. We have needtoknow.news front and center tonight. We've got first four stories really from there. Boom, UAE, United Arab Emirates, exits OPEC, the end of the petrodollar, and the rise of IMEC. That seems to be where it's headed. So I'm not sure how long this is going to take, but let's see what this blurb here says on needtoknow.news. But this is actually mentioning author Patrick Wood, who runs the next site that we'll look at tonight, which is technocracy.news. Says that the petrodollar is dead and that asset tokenization will replace the dollar when pricing oil. The India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC, I'll repeat that, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Again, IMEC includes India, the United States, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, France, Germany, Italy, and the EU, and will create new trade routes. The UAE built pipelines outside the Strait of Hormuz and can export oil when the Hormuz is closed. So pretty interesting. Hadn't heard about that anywhere else. Other countries are rerouting too. The UAE withdrew from OPEC on May 1st, 2026. That would be 2 days ago. Sheikh Al Nahyan, brother to UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed, secretly purchased a 49% stake in World Liberty Financial, the Trump family's cryptocurrency venture, for $500 million. Is that insider trading, or what is that exactly? The deal was signed by Eric Trump and never publicly disclosed. The sheikh purchased nearly half of the infrastructure that would become the settlement layer for the new global economy. Wood says that the U.S. government will no longer have the power to sanction other countries because the money will flow through a new system. Sounds like part of the beast system. The Board of Peace is a private entity chaired by a single individual. Gaza sits at the Mediterranean coast, and it is IMEC's key Israeli port node. Jared Kushner designed the diplomatic preconditions for this entire architecture as he negotiated the Abraham Accords. The UAE is positioned as the most consequential private node in a system that answers to no constitution, no electorate, and no divine law. That sounds perfect for the people in charge, doesn't it? Also known as the Epstein class. So how about that? I thought that was pretty interesting. Some details that I'm sure many of you guys haven't heard of. I didn't know about them. But yeah, the IMEC is the thing to watch, and what's the next steps here. The end of the petrodollar is very, very near. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. The Chinese yuan is something many people are talking about as well. So we'll see, what the one world currency is, but it does look like we are headed down that path very, very soon, very, very quickly. Again, the Diamond Report is all about breaking news that proves we are living in the end times. So this is setting up of that beast system, which it is in place, but this is putting all of the proverbial ducks in a row, as it were. Is surveillance pricing ripping you off? How to stop your data from being used against you? Got Neo here. Where did you say that pricing came from? Surveillance pricing is the practice by retailers of adjusting prices for individuals based on data collected about that person, including browsing history, location, purchase history, and more. They often use third-party intermediaries to adjust those prices. Yeah, and it's done on the fly, by the way, as you're shopping in the store. Or at least, that's one way to do it. You can protect yourself by using a VPN, clearing your browser cookies frequently, browsing in incognito mode, and compare prices. I would say that stuff could help with certain websites, but it certainly won't help with everything. Maryland, New York, and other states are moving to require disclosures anytime personal information is used to dictate pricing. Yeah, Maryland and New York. So, I don't know. Let's see what this says. Walmart's role. Walmart is among the retailers adopting electronic shelf labels, which could facilitate surveillance pricing. This technology allows for real-time pricing adjustments based on consumer data, raising alarms among lawmakers and consumer advocates about potential exploitative practices. Recently, Kroger caught the attention of lawmakers and the media over its potential use of facial recognition to enhance its surveillance pricing capabilities and its use of electronic shelving labels, ESLs. Great, another acronym. ESLs, electronic shelving labels. So it's like a digital price label on the shelf instead of a paper one. It's because then they can update it in real time. To profile and target consumers with higher prices, says although Kroger has since claimed that it has no plans to identify customers' faces at digital displays, the grocery chain has been using ESLs for years. They don't around here. I don't know if they do where you guys are, but probably just depends on the city. A customer published a post on social media that JetBlue Airlines increased the price of a ticket by $230 in one day, and that he was just trying to get to a funeral. JetBlue posted this message in response. Try clearing your cache and cookies or booking with an incognito window. We're sorry for your loss. JetBlue was then accused of surveillance pricing. So they literally told this guy who wanted to go to a funeral to clear his cache and his cookies and try the pricing again. Yeah. So anyway, yes. Can you imagine standing next to your friend and shopping in Kroger or anywhere, Walmart, and having the prices on the price tag on the items you're looking at change in real time depending on whose face is being scanned, because there's a little camera in each one of those labels that's come out as well. Depending on who's standing in front of it, the price will change. So everybody pays different prices, and you can bet if you have a white face, you will be paying more. Absolutely. That's where it's going. All right. And then this one I thought was good news if it's true. Who knows? Maha Win. House removes controversial pro-pesticide policies from Farm Bill. And the meme here is the guy spraying, wearing the mask, and he's spraying some sort of crazy chemicals on these plants. I'm wearing a mask right now, but I bet these will make a great healthy salad later. No irony there at all. The House voted to strip pro-pesticide policies, which never should have been introduced in the first place, from the Farm Bill. The amendment to take the provisions out of the Farm Bill, which sets the nation's agriculture policy for 5 years, was adopted in a 280 to 142 vote. The amendment removed bad policies from the bill that includes making it harder for Americans to sue pesticide makers, barring localities from adding regulations that go beyond those imposed by states or the EPA, and eliminating the need for additional permits for pesticide use. The House on Thursday voted to strip pro-pesticide policies, that's a tongue twister, pro-pesticide policies, which have been a source of controversy and GOP infighting, from the Farm Bill. The amendment to take the provisions out of the Farm Bill, which sets the nation's agriculture policy for 5 years, was adopted in a 280 to 142 vote. It was led by Reps Anna Paulina Luna, okay, that's good news, and Eli Crane, both Republicans, and was expected to get significant bipartisan support. One controversial measure the amendment addressed would have made it harder for Americans to sue pesticide makers, preventing states and courts from penalizing the companies for failing to include warnings on their labels about health effects that go beyond those formally recognized by the EPA, Environmental Pollution Agency. Say it with me. The amendment also dealt with two other provisions that would have barred localities from adding regulations that go beyond those imposed by states or the EPA, as well as block the need for additional permits for pesticide use. So anyway, a little bit more info here, linking over to an article on thehill.com. So I don't know, I guess that's a step in the right direction, but who knows where it will go. And then this one also on same site, weather modification ? This is something we addressed last week. Rainfall returned to Iran after it destroyed U.S. radar installations. That's the claim. Now remember, I don't know if you guys were here last week, but I specifically remember mentioning that I spoke to Mr. Dane Wigington, about this on the phone when we spoke last weekend, and brought this up, and he said, no, that's a total lie. There's no truth in this. And the reason he said that was because they were monitoring rainfall as best they could anyway in Iran, and that it had not increased. So based on that, let's see what this article says, because this is this is something from Jimmy Dore, and he actually did mention that Jimmy Dore was out there saying that this is what was happening. This article is April 28th, so just a few days ago. Anyway, I am very dubious about this. This picture here, they're showing Iran bombed U.S. military radar installations in the Persian Gulf in March 2026, and they're saying because of that, now they have rain again. I don't think so, because it would take more than that. I'm not saying they're not being heavily weather modified, heavily under weather warfare. Of course they are. They've been complaining about that for decades on the floor of the UN. Iran has. All right, so this says, last summer, Moshe Arbabian, an Iranian water resource specialist, accused the United States and Israel of manipulating regional weather patterns to intensify Iran's severe drought. He said the satellite imagery showed altered cloud trajectories. He said that had been going on for 40 years. So that's what I said. Yeah, the former president of Iran was, again, on the floor of the UN saying such things. And he was right. Satellite imagery analysis from March 2026 indicated that Iranian missile and drone strikes damaged structures, including the THAAD missile defense radar site at Al Sadr and Al Ruwais in the UAE. Some people are claiming that this has caused rain to return to Iran, ending a long drought. Okay. Some people are claiming. That does not have any bearing in fact, it doesn't look like. Iran's embassy in Kabul posted this tweet on April 21st from their embassy. After Iran destroyed the secret Center for Cloud Seeding and Weather Manipulation in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, everything changed overnight. And with the end of the secret center, the region's weather map flipped completely. While there's no smoking gun evidence to substantiate the claims, there is a history of secret weather control. In fact, a treaty was introduced in the 70s to prevent abuse of technology for this purpose. Yeah, well, clearly they have more than tripled down on that worldwide. So anyways, and then there's a couple of videos embedded here. One of them's the Jimmy Dore show where he's making this claim. Again, I'm very dubious about this. Not saying that that it's not happening, because I think there's a lot of proof that it is happening as far as the weather warfare against Iran. It has been going on for a long time. But taking out a couple of radar installations would not all of a sudden make the rain kick back in, if you know what I mean. There's more to it than that. Anyways, that was the first article I'd really found about that, but I'm sure there's others around. That was just one that came across the news wires today, so I thought I would mention it to you guys because we talked about it last week. All right. Liberty Beacon. The Liberty Beacon. What is MK Ultra? Anna Paulina Luna announces hearing. Seems like she's always in the middle of everything that's like would be considered conspiratorial. Wonder why. This is Anna Paulina Luna's original tweet. The comments below are worth perusing. The rabbit hole runs very deep on this one. Yeah, so this is her April 29th tweet. Hearing on May 13th, MK Ultra, House Oversight Task Force. Got a wide shot picture of a lot of the connections, I guess, for the MK Ultra program. Reaction from Australian SRA satanic ritual abuse survivor Fiona Barnett. Seeing is believing. They already had 2 ex-MK hearings that did Shiite. And besides, it all moved far beyond classic MK Ultra. MK Delta was the culmination of MK Ultra. MK Naomi in the eugenics vax was an MK sub-project, according to Fiona Barnett. So anyway, there's a little bit here, a little bit more. There's some more tweets. This is Kathy O'Brien. I've seen her talk many times, and she is she's one who is a victim and knows a lot about these programs. CIA has mentally tortured for its threats over 5 decades. For MK Ultra to Project Mockingbird, they gaslit the minds of citizens to dominate anyone or anything that threatens the global elite and their agenda. I thought this one was worth mentioning. This is a pretty new article on their site. Hyperscaler AI data centers reach saturation as clients flee. So this is actually a Zero Hedge post, but it's on technocracy.news. So if you want this full article, if it goes behind the paywall, just know that it is on Zero Hedge as well. More than half of AI data centers currently under construction will fail in 2026. This is a worldwide phenomenon as the Gulf states are currently in crisis mode. AI data center output is tokens, and if there is a shortage of tokens, the cost to access AI will increase. The AI industry, from top to bottom, is on the verge of restructuring as the ripple effect hits companies and consumers alike. Ordinary consumers are already showing sensitivity to pricing signals. Google recently shifted from unlimited flat rate AI access to a tiered metered credit system. AI Pro at $19.99 a month and AI Ultra at $249.99 a month. Wow. I guess I'm in the wrong business. Signaling that even a company of its scale cannot sustain unlimited token consumption at flat rates. When prices rise meaningfully, casual users will churn first, abandoning AI tools they treat as novelties rather than necessities. Power users will consolidate to a single provider and become far more deliberate about usage, minimizing total token consumption. Consumer AI features embedded in apps, writing assistants, image generators, and chatbots may disappear or get paywalled, reducing exposure without users actively canceling anything. Well, I mean, personally, that is, image generators, that is what I'm seeing the most of, actually, as far as AI goes right now. Image generators and video. It says the most dangerous scenario is a demand destruction spiral. Higher token prices, yields reduced enterprise adoption, yields lower revenue for AI labs, and then less capital for data center expansion, and so on and so forth. It says the Anthropic CEO warned that being off by a couple of years in infrastructure planning can be devastating, and that some firms haven't thoughtfully analyzed their financials. The industry is walking a tightrope between subsidizing growth and reaching sustainable unit economics, and a construction slowdown would cut the rope. Again, that's another piece here from Patrick Wood, who's the person who runs this site. So, yeah, data centers. So there's been a lot of negative press about data centers, I think rightfully so. So having some of these not make it might not be necessarily a bad thing. I'm all for jobs, but I think ultimately it will mean less jobs, because the more data centers there are, the more computer systems there are running things, the less jobs there will be. So if there's less data centers, theoretically, there could be more jobs. All right, Revolver.news. Pardon or not, there's one very dire reason why Fauci must be charged quickly. I'm not really sure why they think this is even going to happen. I guess because one of his assistant type people, underlings, recently has been, this guy, Morens, has recently been charged. Perhaps they think that Fauci will be next, or at some point charged with something. We'll see. It says the clock is ticking on Fauci. Literally, a new post on X is raising a big red flag about a potential charge against the not-so-good doctor. If it's going to happen, it needs to happen quickly. Time is almost up. If Fauci lied to Congress on May 11th, 2021, when he lied, he said that NIH didn't fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, then the 5-year statute of limitations is about to run out. Isn't that nice? That means the window to charge him is closing very fast. And yes, there's the Biden autopen pardon problem, as we all know, which, by the way, just a side note, nothing has ever come of any of that. Trump has even talked about it, and yet, you know, when it was on Bondi's desk, it was just lost forever. And now that she's out, who knows? But nothing has ever come of this whole Biden autopen pardon scandal. Just completely swept under the rug. Will it now? Because Todd Blanche is in charge? I have my doubts, but we'll see. As we all know, Fauci received that sweeping last-minute pardon covering his COVID conduct, which could make prosecution harder, but that doesn't mean the Justice Department should shrug their shoulders and move on. They should charge him and see if the autopen pardon holds. That's the key point. Fauci can raise the pardon as his defense all he wants, and the courts can decide if it protects him, but if the DOJ waits too long, the whole thing will die before anyone has to ever answer the real question, and we all know the autopen pardon question matters. Yeah, I think that's probably partly why it was dropped, huh? So anyway, I don't know. This has got quite a bit of information on here, including links to other articles and so forth. Given that the statute's about to run out, that sealed case has a lot of people wondering if Fauci's number could be up. With Morens, again, this guy Morens, who was just indicted, Daszak being discussed as a possible co-conspirator, which of course he was, and the statute of limitations closing in, this could definitely be more than wishful thinking or internet buzz. It's time to charge Fauci and let the chips fall where they may. Yeah, I don't know. I hope so, but you can't live on hopium, can you? But they did go back and charge Comey, and we have an article on that one we'll look at here in a bit. Was surprised about that on the whole 86-47 thing. So that was interesting. Again, we'll look at that in a minute. Okay, another Revolver News article. Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia, is in no rush to redistrict Georgia after rushing to redistrict for the Democrats 3 years ago. Yeah, this guy is basically a Democrat in Republicans' clothes, if that's a thing. Brian Kemp going nowhere fast. Rhino Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia, is at it again to sabotage Trump, conservatives, MAGA, and the Republican Party, which, keep in mind, guys, I'm just reading this article. I mean, yes, conservatism, I would consider myself that. But as far as Trump and MAGA and Republican Party, I think that's all. We're past all that stuff now. But anyway, I digress. Carolyn Wren reports after a district judge ruled in 2023 that Georgia's congressional map violated the Voting Rights Act, Governor Kemp immediately called a special session to add a new black majority congressional district in Atlanta. The court ruled Georgia will redraw. That was the quote here. So he did it instantly, it sounds like. Governor Kemp jumps into action when it harms Republicans and delays to act when it helps. I would say I'm surprised, but indeed I am not. Governor Brian Kemp made clear Friday that he won't cancel Georgia's May 19th primary or rush to impose new political maps on this year's elections after the U.S. Supreme Court weakened a key pillar of the Voting Rights Act. But Kemp also signaled he could still call lawmakers back to Atlanta to redraw Georgia's congressional and legislative boundaries. The difference, any new maps would be aimed at the 2028 elections, not the 2026 midterms that are already underway. So he'll get around to it, maybe, if he's not too busy helping Democrats. So I think he's actually a Democrat as well, from what I've heard. Anyway, there's quite a bit of info here on Revolver's article. So I think that's bad news, but we'll see where it goes. Georgia's, swing state seems to be a key battleground. Okay. I'm not talking as I'm loading in some of these because I know when I do, as the page is loading in, it's kind of cutting me off and making me sound like a robot. And I don't want to be accused of being a robot. Okay, so let's see. Breaking, Ynet, one of Israel's largest media outlets, has published a bombshell report on Christian persecution in Israel. Full article translated to English. This is the name of the article. Spitting and humiliation are daily. People are afraid to walk in Jerusalem with Christian symbols. That's the name of the article. By a person named Oded Shalom. Oded Shalom. The smashing of a statue of Jesus in Lebanon by an IDF soldier was a direct continuation of the reality in the Old City and the West Bank. Attacks on priests and monks, the desecration of Christian symbols, the graffiti sprayed on churches take place in broad daylight and are causing echoes around the world. It has worsened under the current government, and they are not trying to stop it. The tour guide here sums it up. We Christians have been here for 2,000 years. What is your problem? This other person, Garo Sandruni, says that he sees a lot of hatred on the street in front of him, a street with heavy traffic throughout the day of religious Jews on their way to the Western Wall or to yeshivas on Mount Zion and in the Jewish Quarter. Sandroni observes what is happening from inside a small ceramic shop in the Armenian quarter of the old city of Jerusalem, not far from the seminary for priests that train young Armenians from around the world to serve as clergy in their communities. He sits there every day, all day, from around 9 or 10 in the morning until 6 in the evening, except on Sundays, a shop whose shelves are filled with many hundreds of Armenian ceramic items. What he sees from his seat behind the small table at the back of the shop is an ugly and offensive reality toward everything he grew up with, against everything that is Christian. Spitting at Christian clergy, at Christian symbols, spitting towards the Armenian monastery, not far from here, spitting and curses, he says in a weak and hurt voice. Well, that's because, the people doing it are clearly God's chosen people, and it's okay when they do it. Something we say often on this show. It's okay when they do it. Anyway, there's a lot here on this article. It goes on and on and on. Evangelicals in retreat. Enough, accept us. That will never happen right there. The Jews will never have enough spitting on Christians and symbols that delineate Christianity, and they will never accept us. It's just the way it is. Anyway, full article here on X, and we'll link to this on my Substack post. So make sure you're on this Substack list. I'm sure many of you guys already are. Got another X post here. Let's see what this one is. Can't tell by the link, so I just have to load it and see. Holy smokes, DOJ just dropped a bombshell. The Biden DOJ aggressively targeted and harassed Christians, privately called them cultists, and sought out harsh prison sentences for peaceful protests. Even worse, they used the SPLC to do it. This is outright Christian persecution right on American soil. Lock up everyone who carried this out. So this is a post from Eric Daughtry. That went beyond disagreement and moved to punishing Christians who held conservative religious beliefs in conflict with the administration's pro-choice gender ideology agenda. The report found that the Biden DOJ brought multiple cases against pro-life activists, many of them Christians, under the FACE Act, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances. That's FACE. Email correspondence shows prosecutors privately mocked Christian pro-life views as culty, C-U-L-T-Y, culty, and pursued more severe charges and harsher sentences for peaceful protests or pro-life defendants. In contrast, following the Dobbs decision in 2022 that overturned Roe v. Wade, there was a wave of vandalism and arson targeting churches and pregnancy resource centers. I remember that. But the Biden DOJ pursued comparatively few prosecutions under that same FACE Act. Yeah, again, it's okay when they do it. Christian colleges and institutions were scrutinized and penalized for holding traditional views on gender, accusing them of Title IX violations and threatening school funding and accreditation. The report also cited the infamous FBI memo out of the Richmond field office that warned of radical traditionalist Catholics as extremists. That's right. The trad cats. Extremists. The memo was withdrawn after public backlash, but the DOJ revealed it relied on the now disgraced Southern Poverty Law Center's list of hate groups. Yes, and again, they were fully funding them themselves to create the hate. SPLC created the hate, and they grifted money from all of their donors in order to go after the people that they really disliked, and that would be conservatives and Christians. Anyway, Canadian priest says hospital asked him to consider assisted suicide twice after a broken hip. Well, clearly, I mean, he does have gray hair, so he must die. Good grief! This is how Canada is acting these days. A Catholic priest said that while seeking treatment for a hip injury at a Canadian hospital, medical workers twice offered him the option of assisted suicide, despite knowing that he was religiously and morally opposed to the practice. They must have thought he would just overlook it or something. Friar Larry Holland, 79, fractured his hip after falling in his bathroom on Christmas Day, 2025, and subsequently went to Vancouver General Hospital to seek treatment for his injury. The BC Catholic, an official media outlet of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Vancouver, first reported. However, despite the priest's assertion that his condition is not and never was fatal, he says the doctor had raised the possibility of him taking his own life through Canada's taxpayer-funded and government-run medical assistance in dying program, MAID, in the event his injury worsened. Oh, okay. Well, that made it better then, I guess. I think I was very shocked. It is such a sensitive subject, he said. The priest told the outlet that the doctor said to him that MAID is something they have to discuss with someone who's been given a terminal diagnosis. Wow. Holland, at the time made known his moral opposition to euthanasia, which Catholic doctrine explicitly forbids. After weeks passed, a nurse would offer him MAID. So a nurse did as well, the doctor and the nurse. So here he is giving the thumbs up in that he's saying, no, I want to live, not be mated. Yeah, so this has been quite the story, I guess, up there in Canada. They're trying to kill pretty much everybody over a certain age. So anyway, I know many of you Canadians already know about it, but I don't know that too many Americans do. But yeah, they're bringing it to the U.S. So don't think we're getting off. That's just delayed. Canada gets it first, but some states are also trying to do the same thing. They're just calling it something different. Anyway, they're probably not quite as front and center about it. All right, we've got some airline stories tonight. Spirit Airlines shuts down as a company says it can't keep up with the higher oil prices. I always kind of wondered about that name, Spirit Airlines. I wonder whose Spirit it is. West Palm Beach, Florida, Spirit Airlines, an impish upstart that shook the industry with its irreverent ads and deep discount fares, announced Saturday that it has gone out of business after 34 years. The ultra-low-cost airline that once operated hundreds of flights daily on its bright yellow planes and employed about 17,000 people said that it had started an orderly wind down of our operations effective immediately. Although Spirit had gone bankrupt twice before, the company said the high oil prices, which had been rising because of the war with Iran, made it impossible to stay aloft. So there you go. Sounds like it's Donald Trump's fault. No more Spirit Airlines. Spirit said in a statement that it was working to get more than 1,300 crew to their home bases and that the final Spirit flight landed in Dallas-Fort Worth from Detroit. So I guess it is completely shut. I never flew on Spirit ever, but I guess some people liked it. So that is, saw the pop-up, that is an AP News story there. Again, several airplane stories again tonight. Next one is View from the Wing. Let's see what this says. More airline bankruptcies may be coming. JetBlue and Frontier. Says analysts think more Chapter 11s are coming to airlines, and then estimates the risk for several by 2027. That's not that far away. JetBlue has a greater than 75% chance of a risk of having to declare Chapter 11. JetBlue is the top one here. Frontier, 45 to 50%. Allegiant, 36.7%. American Airlines, 2.9 to 15%. And Alaska Airlines, less than 3%. I think these percentages are overly scientific, especially since they don't quite appear to be representing real market probabilities implied from bond yields. Still, as a ranking exercise, I think we're looking at something reasonable for JetBlue and Frontier, and a suggestion that American and Alaska will probably are not looking at anything of this sort. So these are on the list, although it sounds like JetBlue is the one that's probably the closest to bankruptcy. Anyway, things are not good because the oil prices, at least in large part, because the oil prices are so high. And I don't think that's going to get any better anytime soon. Delta mysteriously canceling hundreds of flights due to crew restrictions. Despite generally good weather around the country, Delta canceled nearly as many flights today as Spirit did, and Spirit didn't fly. I don't know what's going on, but Delta is unarguably losing its edge when it comes to operational reliability. Delta canceling lots of flights on Friday and Saturday. So this weekend. It's having issues with operational reliability at the moment. Delta canceled 157 flights and delayed 631 flights. United canceled 24 flights and delayed 815 flights. American had a great day. It had no real issues. So that was Friday. Saturday, yesterday, Delta canceled 204 flights and delayed 363 flights. United canceled 9 flights and delayed 268 flights. American canceled 4 flights and delayed 470 flights. I know that's a lot of numbers. So my apologies on that. It's hard to really grasp the numbers on a audio or on a audio or video even podcast. But anyway, just suffice it to say that things are not looking too good for the old airline industries these days, which that does sort of go with the idea that if this Iran war and the outcroppings of it are indeed COVID 2.0, meaning, climate lockdowns and energy issues, and you can't travel because of lack of, Jet A or just oil issues in general, it does kind of make sense. to get some of these airlines to shut down or be absorbed by larger companies. Then you only have to close a few down instead of a lot of little ones. And I thought this one was weird. This is just on CBS News. United flight landing at Newark Liberty Airport strikes a light pole and a truck on the New Jersey Turnpike. What in the world? I guess those trucks just kind of jump right up in your way when you're trying to land your plane. An investigation is underway after United Airlines plane struck a light pole and a truck on the New Jersey Turnpike as it was coming in for a landing at Newark earlier today. Here's what we know. Dash cam footage from the truck shows the moment it is struck by a Boeing 767 that originated in Venice, Italy, with 221 passengers and 10 crew. Frame-by-frame video of the footage shows what appears to be the wheel of the plane outside the driver's window. So here's a still shot, I guess, of it gone over. Video shows a Newark passenger jet flying low over the New Jersey Turnpike. So isn't that weird? New Jersey State Police said preliminary investigation indicated a tire from the plane's landing gear and the underside of the plane hit both the pole and the tractor trailer. The pole also struck a Jeep traveling on the turnpike. The truck was traveling to Smith's Bakery Depot in Newark. They just wanted some bagels or something. And was about to exit the turnpike when it was hit. And it says that one of the plane's landing gear tires went through the truck's window and windshield. Wow. The driver of the tractor trailer, identified as Warren Bordley, was taken to the hospital with minor injuries and later released. Man, imagine that. Just driving down the road and an airplane tire comes flying through your window. Cell phone video appears to show UA 169 flying low over the turnpike before landing just after 2 p.m. I'm wondering if they paid the toll, though. My guess is probably not. Anyway, yeah, that one's kind of kooky. Lots of crazy plane stuff happening. As we always mention on this show, seems like pretty much weekly. So this one I thought was rather interesting, and some of you guys will as well. The Daily Wire, based here in Nashville, by the way, fires half of its staff in mass layoffs. This comes as co-founder Ben Shapiro has lost 85% of his YouTube audience since last year. So there are good things that still happen. It's just a matter of, you have to be watching out for them. Daily Wire fires huge chunk of staffers as influence and revenue wane. I wonder why. He looks a little sad there. The Daily Wire spent a decade building its identity around a simple promise. Legacy media had become bloated, ideologically captive, and incapable of telling the truth. Oh, now it turns out it's just them that are that way. Of course, legacy media is as well. It's both. And a leaner conservative outlet would replace it on May 1st, 2026. That outlet handed pink slips to a significant share of its own newsroom and production teams, with former host Candace Owens claiming on X that more than half of the staff was let go. Yeah, and I hear they're blaming Candace for some of this. Editor-in-chief pushed back hard, calling the 50% figure insane and nowhere near accurate. The company itself confirmed that only the cuts spanned a number of teams and were concentrated at its Nashville production hub. The exact percentage is contested. The trajectory is not. This is the second major round of layoffs in 13 months. Wow. The children's streaming service, launched as a conservative alternative to Disney, was shuttered in 2025 with its entire staff cut. Co-founder Jeremy Boring stepped down as the co-CEO in early 2025. Independent industry tracker Layoff Hedge estimates the cumulative workforce reduction at more than 60% in just over a year. None of this happened in a vacuum. Financial pressure has been visible for those willing to look, and the audience numbers tell a story that no spokesperson statement can paper over. Well, turns out that maybe people don't want to be insulted all the time about not being able to criticize or say something halfway critical about Israel and then demonized for doing so. And that is exactly where Ben Shapiro, old BS, goes. That's always where he goes. You can't have an opinion about Israel other than being pro-Israel. Yeah, that's the way it works. All right, I thought this one was kind of sad. Joe Hoft, this is from the Gateway Pundit, news source that I somewhat recommend, but often refer to on this show. They're very, very pro-Israel, but doesn't mean I don't like what they've done. They've done a lot in conservative media. It says Joe Hoft has been hospitalized in Florida after suffering a stroke, while his twin brother Jim Hoft, founder of the Gateway Pundit, awaits heart surgery in another state. So this is the brothers, Joe and Jim. This guy, Joe, had a stroke. So he's in Florida. And this guy, Jim, is awaiting heart surgery. So it sounds like it's coming fast and furiously here toward the owners of the Gateway Pundit. Jim Hoft, founder and publisher of the Gateway Pundit, is currently in the hospital awaiting a much-needed surgery for his heart. Like Jim, his beloved twin brother, Joe Hoft, is a fearless patriot who loves America and fights every day to expose the truth behind the mainstream media's lies. Joe is an international author, auditor, conservative talk show host, and founder of his own new site, joehoft.com. Continues to be a contributor at the Gateway Pundit. Last night, while making flight reservations from Florida to visit his twin brother, Jim, before his scheduled heart surgery last week, Joe suddenly began feeling lightheaded. He laid down, but quickly realized something far more serious was happening and called for help to get dressed. While driving himself to the hospital, Joe's right leg became unusable. Wow. Joe explained to his wife, who wasn't home at the time of the incident. She met him on the way to the hospital and drove the rest of the way. When he arrived at the emergency room of the hospital, the same facility where Joe had recently taken Jim for treatment of his ongoing heart condition, he was told that he had suffered a stroke. Wow. Okay. Well, anyways, there's a little bit more here, but maybe say a prayer here for Joe and Jim. That's too bad. But hopefully they will be all right. Sounds like Joe's probably the one who may have the more acute situation going on with the stroke. Anyway, pretty crazy, huh? Golden Tempo wins 2026 Kentucky Derby. Saturday marked the first time a female trainer won the Derby. Yeah, I did happen to actually see that. Just the race by itself. Moments before the race and the race itself. Just happened to catch it. But I thought that was pretty interesting in how the horse, Golden Tempo, came from the very, very back of the pack all the way to the front, running along the outside. Many of you guys have probably seen the footage. Golden Tempo captured the 152nd Kentucky Derby on Saturday, making a historic first for female trainers. The 3-year-old bay thoroughbred colt charged down the final stretch in the 1 1/8 mile race to give trainer Sherry DeVoe her first Triple Crown race victory. She became the first female trainer to ever win the Kentucky Derby and just the second ever to win a Triple Crown race. Golden Tempo, ridden by Jose Ortiz. So here's the rider. Wins the 152nd running of the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs. I've driven past Churchill Downs many, many times. Never been there. Going back and forth between where I live here and visiting family in Indiana. So I know right where that is, but never seen a race or been there. My mom's big into horses, so we watched the race yesterday together, and she wasn't all that surprised on who won, but she was figuring that it would be Renegade that would win. Renegade was the favorite, apparently. He came in second. I don't even have any words right now, an emotional DeVoe said on the NBC broadcast after upsetting the race to overcome early favorite Renegade. And then there's the trainer, Sherry DeVoe, trainer of Golden Tempo. So I'm wondering, and I guess there's probably already people out there doing it, just the fact that the horse's name has got the word golden in it. I'm wondering how or if Trump is trying to take credit for any of this because it's got the word golden in it. Have you guys seen that? I'm just assuming that he probably did, just because he is the narcissist in chief and everything's about him. So I'm guessing if he hasn't already, he probably will try and take some sort of credit for Golden Tempo winning the 2026 Kentucky Derby. So congratulations to all involved. I thought that was a pretty good story. And it was neat. Again, it was really neat. I thought the best part was the fact that he came from literally all the way back in the back. He was last and came up and won first, just by a nose. All right, couple of articles from the Daily Signal. As AI growth brings data center boom, Texas legislators rush to protect constituents. As the Trump administration moves full speed ahead with artificial intelligence innovation, Texas lawmakers are worried about unintended consequences for their constituents. The AI boom is fueling the growth of hundreds more data centers, and Texas offers ample space for their construction, while Republican state lawmakers want Texas to support innovation so the United States can win the AI race against China. That's always the excuse. They are concerned about how the arrival of new data centers will affect rural communities' access to water and electricity. Yeah, that's right. The computers get all the water, and they also get all the electricity, and whatever's left, if there is any, then that's for the people. That's the way it's being talked about. I'm not kidding. We understand that AI infrastructure is about more than local economies, and we support it. Texas Rep. Helen Kerwin told Daily Signal, we have to support to stay ahead in the race, but not at the cost of future generations having water issues and power issues. I think it's by definition going to cause that. I'm just adding that, but that's what everyone's saying. She first engaged the issue after talking to a 20-year-old third-generation farmer who was afraid he would lose his family's land. He said he wanted to stay on the land, but he told her that they are offering us a massive amount of money. Yeah, for the farm. He wants to carry on the family tradition, but then he said to me, what happens if I turn them down, but my neighbor accepts the offer? Which more than likely that will happen a lot of places. So rising fear generally about the use and deployment of AI and how it's going to reformat our culture and employment of people writ large. So I think there's an inherent fear, and then there's the not in my backyard fear of I don't want a giant glowing hum right next to my house. Oh, it's worse than that. I don't know if you guys have seen or heard any of the video clips of some of these data centers and the unbelievable, I would just say ungodly noises that these things make. It's just a scraping and a churning and just constant noise. And I don't know why they have to be so loud. I don't know if it has to do with the, water being recycled and then cooling equipment down or something. I don't really know. But they just sound unbelievable. It's just like metal scraping against metal all the time. And I couldn't imagine living next to one and then having property values just drop through the floor, because that's got to be what happens in most places. Data centers' share of the U.S. power use could jump from about 4.5% today to between 9 and 17% by 2030, according to a recent Electric Power Research Institute analysis. Yeah, and then, what is all that for? Why do they want to build all these data centers and have AI literally everywhere? Well, it's because they want to replace humans. And so the data centers, when they build them in your backyard, eventually it will be to replace the Americans or whatever country you're in, to replace those people in the jobs that they currently have. So then, therefore, you are no longer needed. And they can institute programs like MAID in Canada, where they have medical assistance in dying, and people will buy it because, hey, if you don't have a job to go to, if you don't have any reason to feel like you're contributing, then that's going to make a lot of people want to just give up. So therefore, more data centers equals more death. That's how I see it. So anyway. And then this one, I don't have the video queued up, but it is actually pretty eye-opening. It says a recent clip of Rep. Brandon Gill, Republican, Texas, questioning a pro-abortion law professor in a congressional hearing over the FACE Act, which we mentioned earlier tonight, has gone viral over the last week. In the clip, Rep. Gill, who gained notoriety last year by confronting the CEO of NPR with a variety of her prior radical statements about race, asked American University College, Washington College of Law professor Jessica Waters if she had a favorite method of performing abortions. Yes, he did ask her. When she declined to answer, he proceeded to describe various gruesome forms of surgical abortion, which, by the way, is why I'm not playing the clip. It's just, I mean, we all know how bad it is, but I'm afraid it would shut down my live stream. Asking what she thought of each method in turn, Waters studiously and awkwardly refused to give her opinion. Yeah, and so this video clip that he posted here on his X account says, I described some of the most common methods of abortion to one of the abortion industry's top legal scholars. As you can see, the barbaric truth wasn't something she wanted to hear. Yeah, she did sort of change the subject over and over. Why are abortion supporters so wary of describing or even hearing the description of this basic health care, quote unquote? It says, I saw an answer in the lives and teachings of two great pro-life physicians. It says, doctors are servants protecting the authentic, objectively knowledgeable goods of health and flourishing. They are not mere technicians doing a paid job to fulfill patients' desires. Once doctors turn from that mission, the results can become too horrific even to hear. So anyway, yeah, so this clip here is the one, if you want to hear it, but I can't play it for you guys tonight, but I will link to this Daily Signal article, or you can find it if you're on X. Just look up this guy, Representative Brandon Gill, Texas, and you'll find the clip. But yeah, it's pretty eye-opening, actually. And even more so was her not answering the questions that he's asking her. Okay, we've got some RT articles. I was wondering about this. We spoke about this last week, of course, the White House dinner correspondence shooting at the hotel there. And yes, indeed, there was high-quality footage. I don't know why they didn't just put the high-quality footage out to begin with. I mentioned last week it looked like, because it was black and white, and looked like they had made about 1,000 copies of it and used that 1,000th degraded copy to finally release to the public. Well, it turns out they have pretty much crystal clear video footage in full color. I know that was, some people were saying, well, it can't be real because it's in black and white. No, they converted it to black and white because the real footage is right here in living color, as they say. High quality footage of White House dinner gunman released. Cole Thomas Allen had been charged with attempting to assassinate Trump. So the video footage is pretty amazing. Some of the videos here, there's no sound on this, but I did watch this. They show him walking around quite a bit. That right there is from, I think, the day before. So this is the day of. And it shows him going to the gym and all this stuff. Well, just saying that basically he was a person that was in the hotel. He was a guest. All right, so this is the footage of him running out the door. And note that the security guard with the dog is on the case. The dog knows to go after this guy. And in fact, the security guard pulls the dog away and they leave. Or they turn their backs, essentially. So the reason they're taking down the security gates here, right, that you're supposed to walk through, the scanners, is because all of the people are already all in the ballroom. So they don't need it anymore if everybody's in there, theoretically, right? And the doors were closed. And these things had to come down. So one guy's got his back to the guy, and the other guy is really not paying attention. And this guy right here in the center of the picture is really not paying attention. And the only one that is this person right here, this police officer. That's why I don't think this is fake. I do think it's real. You've got, security details. You have police people. You have Secret Service. A lot of people involved. And you can see here, he comes running around the corner, and this guy draws his gun pretty quickly and fires 3 shots. I think this particular video even has it slowed down as well. But you can see it. He comes running right here, and he grabs his gun right here. 1, 2, 3. 3 shots. I don't know how he didn't hit the friendly people nearby. You would have thought that he would have. Here, this is speed slowed down here. It says the footage, which has no sound, shows the suspect walking down the hallway before dashing past the metal detector screening area. At one point, he points a shotgun at a security guard while another guard fires several shots from a sidearm. Right there, boom. I think it circles it. There's one shot. And he's right there. How did he not hit him? I mean, is he that bad of a shot? I know he's running pretty fast, but he's literally just inches away from him, and he misses. But luckily doesn't hit anyone else. So it's good that he drew that quickly, but how did he not hit him? I don't understand. The suspect was tackled and restrained before reaching the ballroom where the president was seated. According to the DOJ, Secret Service officer wearing a bulletproof vest was shot once in the chest. So the only bullets I saw being fired were from that guy here, the officer. So I don't know who got shot. And I don't think it was this. Anyway, from what I heard, there was, after he ran on past here, it happened later on, I think. And we've never seen that footage. And we probably won't, because it's a footage of security person, Secret Service person being shot. And even though he was okay, I don't think we'll see that footage. That was in a different part of the hotel before they tackled him, apparently. So he did shoot somebody, but it was the bulletproof vest that ended up saving him. Anyway, I just thought that was weird. But mostly I just wanted to mention that the full high quality footage was there, and somehow, for whatever reason, they did finally release it, although you got to wonder why they didn't just do that to begin with. But they didn't. And why? Trump renews call for Netanyahu pardon. Because that's what we need, right? The U.S. president has for months been urging his Israeli counterpart, Isaac Herzog, to absolve the prime minister who is facing corruption charges. Therefore, we will always have war. We will always have a war, as long as that's going on. Because as long as that's going on, he can't face charges. U.S. President Trump has called on his Israeli counterpart to pardon Netanyahu, who is facing charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. So it sounds like he's DJT's kind of guy. He's facing bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. Kind of says it all, doesn't it? Indicted in 2019, Netanyahu has pleaded not guilty and denied any wrongdoing. But of course, they can't actually get him to stand trial. So we'll never know. The trial, which began in 2020, has seen numerous delays and is expected to drag on for several more years. Trump reportedly told Axios on Tuesday that Netanyahu, a longtime ally who co-launched the unprovoked war on Iran with him, has complained that he will have to appear in court instead of concentrating on the conflict that is strangling the global economy. The U.S. president reportedly expressed incredulity, saying, "In the middle of a war? Give me a break." That's the reason we're in the middle of a war. It's certainly one of them. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of silly and fits perfectly with Trump and Bibi, doesn't it? Sure seems like it. Okay, next article. And again, these are all on RT.com if you want to check any of these out before you get the email from the Diamond Disc Substack that I will send out probably on Tuesday. It's been, I think, mostly been Tuesday lately. Kuwait exports 0 barrels of oil for the first time in 35 years. The halt is due to a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, the country's only export route, with crude accounting for roughly 50% of GDP. So yeah, what are these little countries over there going to do with no oil exporting? Maybe get into AI? Is that what's going on? Kuwait exported 0 barrels of crude oil last month, according to data from a shipping monitor, marking the first such halt since the 1991 Gulf War. A major U.S. ally hosting around 13,500 American troops and serving as a key regional logistics hub, Kuwait previously produced about 2.7 million barrels per day and exported roughly 1.85 million barrels per day, with most shipments going to Asian markets, including China, India, and South Korea. So how about that? What are they going to do with no oil? Anyways, a little bit more info here on this article. Thought that was interesting, though. I had not heard that before. Kuwait exports 0 oil. That's a pretty big drop from 1.85 million per day to 0. Gosh. I mean, we're headed there fast. Whoever here is, I don't know. Israeli security minister celebrates his birthday with noose cakes. Ben-Gvir has championed legislation which would introduce the death penalty against Palestinians in military courts. Haven't they already killed almost all the Palestinians? So this is his noose cake. It's literally got a noose on the cake as he celebrates his 50th birthday. Gosh. Israel's ultra-nationalist National Security Minister Ben-Gvir celebrated his 50th birthday this weekend. Man, I got to tell you, I mean, I'm not exactly what you would call a spring chicken, but this guy looks like he's, I don't know, I would have guessed 65, not 50. Anyway, he looks old. Treating guests to slices of cake featuring a noose. Attendees included several top law enforcement officials. The cake was an apparent allusion to Ben-Gvir's advocacy for legislation that would introduce the death penalty for Palestinians found guilty under, quote, terrorism. Aren't they already killing all the Palestinians for terrorism? They're not using nooses, they're using bullets. At the Saturday night celebration in southern Israel, Ben-Gvir's wife presented him with a cake featuring a noose and the words, Mazel Tov to Minister Ben-Gvir, sometimes dreams come true. Oh, maybe she's secretly telling him that this noose will one day be around his neck. No, I don't think that, but who knows? I mean, anything is possible, isn't it? The noose paraphernalia was an apparent allusion to the death penalty for terrorists law. Man. That is not exactly something I would want on my birthday cake. I don't know about you guys. But I'm way past 50, so it doesn't impact me. Anyway. Yep. So KC3 was in town. I don't have a lot on this. I haven't really had time this week to put a lot of time into figuring out exactly what happened. But I do know, according to this, King Charles calls for unity in a historic address of U.S. Congress. I do know he was calling for more war against Russia through Ukraine. We'll look at that in a minute. So this is just more of a general article. His Majesty, King Charles III, made history on Tuesday as the second British monarch to address a joint session of the U.S. Senate and House during his first trip to the U.S. as king. Charles emphasized unity throughout the address and specifically referenced the United States' historic connections to the United Kingdom. Yeah, but only the good connections, I bet. Charles received his first standing ovation within minutes of starting after referencing the semi-quincentennial year of the Declaration of Independence. The king characterized the U.S.-UK relationship as unique and highlighted what he described as the enduring similarities between the two countries. Yeah, probably because mostly I would say it's the Epstein class that runs both. That's a pretty big similarity. Namely, influence from the British Enlightenment, along with ideals from English law and the Magna Carta. The king received applause from both sides of the aisle after noting how the principle of checks and balances originated in the Magna Carta. Yeah, but they've done away with the Magna Carta now because, I don't know if you guys remember, I reported on this a while back. They've completely done away with trial by jury. So it's just the judges handing down their sentence, and that's all there is. There's no trial by jury anymore. I think it was in Wales is where it started, but it has moved. It will be moving through the rest of the UK at some point. Charles acknowledged the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting over the weekend and emphasized the need to uphold democracy despite partisan divisions. The world is more volatile and dangerous since his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, addressed Congress in 1991, and the challenges are too great for any one nation to face alone, he said. Yeah, I thought it was interesting how the Democrats pushed this whole idea of no kings. Remember that? No kings, front and center, left and right. And they still are. And it's still a thing. It's still happening. I was recently driving around, I don't know, a few weeks ago. I think I mentioned on the show, driving around during when a No Kings protest in a small town. So it's the Democrats pushing the No Kings protest, and they were literally applauding a king coming to see them and talk to them. But again, it's okay when they do it, isn't it? So we'll look at that a little bit closer. I've got another article. I think it's a Leo Hohmann article that we'll get to in a bit about that, about Charles and the trip to Washington. King Charles goes to Washington. All right, let's see. Another one from the SIFT. Trump says Iran war is terminated as 60-day congressional deadline arrives. Yeah, I think this is now officially, looks like he's got a black eye there, swollen eye. I think he's officially said the war's over 30 times now. Somebody was keeping track, I heard that earlier today, that he's publicly said that the war in Iran is over. He said it at least 30 times. President Trump on Friday said hostilities with Iran have terminated, according to a letter he sent to the Speaker of the House. No exchange of fire between the two countries had occurred since April 7th. Oh, we're going on a month, when the ongoing ceasefire began. The Defense Department was continuing to position troops in the region, including nearby countries, to protect the United States and its allies. Yeah, they have to protect us from freedom. That's working so far. Trump's statement came as some lawmakers accused him of violating the 1973 War Powers Resolution. The resolution allows the president to conduct military action for 60 days without congressional authorization if responding to an imminent threat. But once the deadline is reached, the law requires him to halt the use of U.S. armed forces. The conflict began on February 28th, and Trump formally informed Congress on March 2nd, started the clock on the 60-day deadline that ends on Friday. Okay, so that is interesting, huh? Yeah, it says, how have critics responded? And it talks about some of the Democrats and a few of the Republicans and so forth. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be the end of it, do you? I think it will go on and on and on. So we'll see. That one's on WNG.org. Okay, and then this one, I just wanted to look at a few of the headlines. It seemed like they had several things worth mentioning. I didn't pull up any one article, but it's on Daily Caller, dailycaller.com. The search is on. Search and rescue operation underway for U.S. service members reported missing abroad. Oh yeah, let me click this. I think this is in Morocco. Hold on one sec. Yep, Morocco. Why are we in Morocco? A search is underway after 2 U.S. military personnel went missing in Morocco during a joint exercise. Okay. So they're just exercising. No big deal. Just running some laps, and then they disappeared. All right, and then breaking, Rudy Giuliani hospitalized in critical but stable condition. So not sure what's going on with old Rudy, but he is currently hospitalized. Trump announces new military operation amid ceasefire with Iran. I thought the war was over. And then, yet again, let's see. It says Secret Service arrests a man after physical altercation at Trump National Doral Golf Club. I don't know what the altercation was, but I guess there weren't guns involved, so that's good. Not another person trying to hit him, trying to kill him or something. Liberal icon, a former congressman, warns Democrats from deathbed against moving too far too fast. Against moving too far and too left. Let me see if this is who I think it is. If he is, he looks really bad. Yeah. Representative Barney Frank. It is him. Yeah, I haven't seen him in years. Former Massachusetts Democrat Rep. Barney Frank, in hospice care, went on national television on Sunday to warn Democrats that they have moved too far left. Now, you know it's bad when Barney Frank is saying, guys, you've gone too far left. because back in the 90s when he was in there, he was one of the crazy radical leftists for sure. But even he can't hold a candle to what they're doing these days. I think that might have been it on the headlines from Daily Caller. Anyway, there's several pretty interesting stories there. This is another one of these stories that I think helps to prove that we are indeed living in the end times. This is you think that the Democrats, the people on the left, can't get any worse, and they continuously find new lows to achieve. Well, disgusting TikTok trend using sound effect from Charlie Kirk's assassination condemned by TPUSA. While I am no fan of TPUSA, they're right on this one. And it's not a sound effect, it's an actual recording of Charlie being assassinated, right? The audio. So here's what this says. A disturbing TikTok trend emerged following Charlie's assassination that is having a resurgence. The videos use a sound effect from the moment, it's not a sound effect, it's a clip. Use an audio clip from the moment of Kirk's murder, and it's being used in transition videos. The trend uses a 6-second audio clip from the moment Kirk was assassinated in September, capturing his last words, quote, counting or not counting gang violence, end quote. Remember that? That was his last words. Followed by the sound of the fatal gunshot and immediate background and screams and chaos. The trend is mostly young women doing fashion and outfit transitions. They're calling it GRWM. Get ready with me. Content videos where they start in a casual or boring clothes, and that the exact moment that the gunshot happens, they transition to party-style, glamorous, revealing outfits, with the timing making the gunshot reveal the beat. Making the gunshot reveal beat. Yeah. So, does it get any sicker? The sound, which has been used in tens of thousands of videos, went viral in the days after the assassination and has had multiple resurgences. TPUSA shared an example of the distasteful trend and condemned it. Yeah. So, I'll play this. You won't be able to hear it because I don't have the audio patched in so we can't hear it. But you don't need to hear it. It's just what we said. It's literally Charlie's last few words, the gunshots, the screams. And you can see what happens to the girls here. See, they have regular clothes on. Okay, so the idea here is they're mocking what he's saying, and then at the moment of impact, at the moment he's shot, you see them in the fancy outfits, in the other clothes, right? Women post video using Charlie Kirk's assassination sounds for outfit transition. This is gross. The empathy side, by the way. Yeah, so that's just one example. And it gets even worse, if you can believe that. This guy transitions into a, well, you can see what he is. I'll show it again. And he even shows a close-up of his neck and then jumps away to him as a woman, as a transgender drag queen. Wow. I mean, where do you go with that? Nowhere but to hell, if you ask me. But, man, that is, it takes mocking to a whole new level, doesn't it? Just wanted you guys to know that was going on. So we go from that terrible story to this one, and we're going to play this video, but I'm not going to play it till the end of the show because I have to hook it up a different way to make it work over the live stream. So, but it is really incredible. It says, when all hope seems lost, police officer draws on the power of prayer to save a man from jumping to his death. And I will say, you know, lots of people talk about black on white issues and white on black issues and all this. Well, this is a black cop helping this white kid who's about to jump. and commit suicide by jumping off this bridge. And he saves him from doing that. I'll just give away the punchline here. But this is a pretty incredible story. I'm going to save it for the end just because, again, for you to hear it, I have to plug it in slightly differently. But it says, one would find hard-pressed to find a better example of the power of Jesus Christ and prayer than what happened in Jacksonville, Florida late last month. And the internet is erupting in cheers. I hope that is also for Jesus. I know some people are cheering because it's the power of Jesus mentioned, but unfortunately not everyone. It says, as the New York Post reported on Sunday, body camera footage taken on April 12th shows the moments where Jacksonville police officer named Antonio Richardson speaking with a man who was standing on the edge of the bridge getting ready to jump to his death. The situation appears hopeless, but Richardson and the 6 other officers at the scene refused to give up. Richardson asked the man, he looked like a very young man, I would guess probably 20. Richardson asked the man to talk about what's happening and asks to pray with him. Over the course of several minutes, Richardson talks and prays for the man while also asking him to touch his hand. Just touch my hand, man. I'm praying with you. He says, you're hurting, but if you jump, man, you're going to hurt other people. And they're going to be hurting just like you are now, and the cycle has got to stop. In the end, the man finally takes Richardson's hand and steps away from the ledge, and they hug. So we're going to play this. I've got it queued up, and we will do that at the end of the show, just again, because, not to leave you hanging here, but because I would rather show it then. It'd be easier for me to get it all set up. So stay tuned for that one. You won't be disappointed. Let's keep moving here. We've got a couple of Wine Press Substack articles. I like to look at the Wine Press Substack. They are super anti-Trump, maybe even to the TDS level, perhaps. But anyway, a lot of what they say is pretty spot on as well. Trump signs bill to extend the FISA Section 702 for warrantless spying. Says, I'm willing to give up my security for the military. So he's willing to give up his security, which means we all have to give up our security as well. I think he means privacy, probably. Section 702, first authorized in 2008, lets intelligence agencies intercept the electronic communications of foreign nationals outside of the U.S. without a warrant. So lovely, huh? Earlier this week, Congress re-signed yet another extension of FISA Section 702, which allows for warrantless spying on Americans and keeping tabs on foreigners Americans talk and communicate with. So, there you go. Reclaim the Net reported House voted 235 to 191 on September to keep Section 702 of the FISA Act, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, running for another 3 years. So that pretty much takes us through the end, if you ask me. Anyways, Psalm 73:8, they are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. They sure do, don't they? Anyway, that is a Wine Press Substack article. Bit more on there if you want to read through that. And then we mentioned this one just in passing earlier. Climate lockdowns. U.S. oil exports surge to record high as gas prices rise, and Trump still hasn't refilled strategic reserve. While the UAE leaves OPEC, causing further disruptions. The United States has been insulated so far. History suggests that won't last indefinitely. More consequences are likely incoming. Energy shocks rarely stay contained. Energy prices in the U.S. continue to climb as the war in Iran may very well restart soon, but paradoxically, oil exports in the U.S. reached a record high. Yeah, that they did, but I'm not seeing any benefit from that. Are you? I mean, only the people at the top are. The Epstein class. The people who sell the millions of barrels of oil. That's about it. Fuel lockdown, 2 weeks to stop the spread. Stay 6 feet apart. Wear a mask. Short-term pain, long-term gain. Short-term pain, long-term gain. Unleaded is $15.99 a gallon. Diesel $27.99. Sold out. I don't think that's too far off. I like how they even have the circles around the cars, and everybody's got their masks on. Stay 6 feet apart. I'm not real sure why we'd have to stay 6 feet apart, but people will do it. And they do have the lock and chains around the gas machines as well. Yeah. Anyway, petrol, as they say in much of the world, the petrol station. Yeah, I don't know. Wine Press Substack. I always have good stuff to say on their posts, and then Leo Hohmann does as well. But I wanted to just mention what this one's about. King Charles shows up in D.C. beating the war drums for World War III against Russia. Talks about shared values and unyielding resolve in defending Ukraine. But what does that look like, and where does it end? Depopulation is the key to all. And I see Matt and other people said, yes, the AC was in town. Yep, that's right. Soon to be, certainly. I was wondering if anything would happen to him while he's here, but luckily nothing did. But you guys know that scripture. King Charles is telling the United States government to prepare for war with Russia by getting ready to defend Ukraine and, quote, her most courageous people. He reminds Congress that they fought together through 2 world wars, the Cold War, and Afghanistan. Yeah, and then shows the picture of the video of the Congress here applauding every time King Charles sneezes or does anything. It's just so wonderful that he deign us with his presence, with his existence. Anyway, there's a lot here actually on this Leo Hohmann Substack. This is mostly about Charles's visit, beating the war drums, as he says. Yeah, the people, the wonderful people of Ukraine are slowly being replaced. Many of the fighting age men, of course, are dead. Even the people who have been literally kidnapped and taken to the front lines are dying out. And they're in the midst of replacing many of the men who've been killed in war with people from African nations. They're literally bringing in Africans to replace the Ukrainians who were shot and killed in the war and blown up. They're in the midst of doing that right now. I kid you not. I don't know that Leo Hohmann goes into that in this article, but I do know that's happening. So that is totally insane. If they don't get rid of you one way, they get rid of you some other way. Oh yeah. So speaking of the benevolent king visiting, let me play this. I'll mute it. Trump cuts in front of Queen Camilla to shake some hands. Yeah, he just jumps in, just barges right in front of her, and she looks around like, what in the world just happened? He just jumps right in front of her. I mean, he had so many faux pas, I don't think it was even... I think people kind of lost track of all of them. Well, did we honestly expect anything different this time? Yeah, this is him standing in front of the Queen. Kind of the same thing. Days without being a national embarrassment. Yeah, it went back to 0 a long time ago, I think. This is the one article I pulled up. This one's one of many. They have lots of good ones on their site as well. The Wise Wolf on Substack. The frat boy, the killbots, and the ballroom that definitely is not a bunker. Trump's White House is too stupid to be in charge of America's AI policy. The Trumpinator. He says, this is the Wise Wolf writing this, Donald Trump is the dumbest man who has ever sat in the Oval Office. His own former chief of staff, a 4-star Marine general, called him, quote, the most flawed person the general had ever met. The ghostwriter of his only famous book has gone on the record saying Trump never finished reading one. He's 79 years old. He does not use a computer. He once asked his generals whether the U.S. military could nuke a hurricane to make it stop moving. He believes the cyber is a single thing, the cyber, like Cleveland. He is a frat boy, rich kid, who was handed his father's real estate company in his 20s and had been told he's a genius every day since. And he thinks AI is going to make him king of America. He may be right. Here he is with the Epstein class here. Nobody got fired. Nobody resigned. The press did not blink. A normal president would have been impeached for the Napoleon post alone. This one has been posting himself as Christ, as the Pope, as a martyr, as the chosen one, calling for the imprisonment of his prosecutors and the termination of the Constitution for a decade. The country has gotten tired of being scandalized. He posts, we scroll. Meanwhile, his administration writes memos. On January 9th, the Pentagon, which is now legally called the Department of War because Trump signed an executive order renaming it, released a memo titled Artificial Intelligence Strategy for the Department of War. It cites Trump's executive order establishing global AI dominance as official U.S. policy. It declares that the U.S. military will become an AI-first warfighting force across all components from front to back. Wow. Britt Gillette over at End Times Bible Prophecy read all 47 pages of it, which is public service nobody else was going to provide, and noticed that the document does not appear to mention the word safety anywhere. It mentions dominance frequently. It introduces 7 programs. The names sound like rejected Tom Clancy novels. Like there is Swarm Forge, which exists to develop AI-coordinated drone swarms. There is Agent Network. Yeah, they do sound like Clancy novels, which the memo describes in literal published English as covering campaign planning to kill chain execution, which is the official Department of War term for AI deciding what to bomb, which is a phrase the Department of War apparently saw and approved and posted on a public website. So it goes on. There's a lot here. The Pentagon is now buying that AI with your money to run alongside campaign planning and kill chain execution. Yeah, this is where it's headed, huh? The Terminator. So, he makes a good case, I think. So, anyway, that is on Wise Wolf, Substack. Okay, so Daily Crow wanted to, we're kind of mentioning the Trump stuff. I think I have, a couple things highlighted here. We were talking about the ballroom at the beginning of this show. And this site, this is dailycrow.com, this site has several things in a row on that. So I thought I would just kind of read through this a little bit, catch you up on the ballroom, because it's a little insane. It says Trump on the White House ballroom in February. Remember, that wasn't really all that long ago. Quote, "We did this with no charge to the taxpayer whatsoever. This was all donations by friends of mine and people who love our country, love the White House. Not one penny. And it's very expensive ballroom," end quote. I remember him saying that. Senator Lindsey Graham says he's introducing legislation to spend $400 million on Trump's White House ballroom. $400 million bucks. "The sooner we get the ballroom built, the better it is for the country," he said. I guess that's a Lindsey Graham quote. I don't know. Lady G. February 5th, 2025. Trump announces he's going to build a new ballroom at the White House and pay for it with his own money. "It's going to cost nothing. I will spend the whole thing myself." I will spend the whole thing myself. He can't even talk in complete sentences. So February of 2025, he's claiming he's going to pay for it all himself. Rand Paul has jumped on the PSYOP bandwagon. Unreal, truly. You know, that's from a few years ago, I'm sure. But there he is at the Roman fortress, Operation Epic Ballroom. So Rand Paul, this guy at the wall, says, "I'm dropping a bill tomorrow. Let's build the ballroom." So this was right after the attempted, shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. They're building a Stargate command bunker under the ballroom, and they need us to buy the ballroom narrative, BS. in order to gin up public support to ram this through against the opposition is currently facing. This facility will most likely be the nerve center hub of the new national security Palantir spy infrastructure and digital control grid panopticon. So that's actually just an X post, that whole thing. It's time to build the ballroom. So that's another X post. And then yet another tweet here from Trump. And then now acting AG Todd Blanche says it's time to build the ballroom. And there's a letter to Assistant Attorney General of the Civil Division from, Todd Blanche is the one that did this tweet, but he's not the one that wrote this letter. U.S. Department of Justice Civil Division. Again, with the ballroom. Trump's new White House ballroom architect is a Jewish immigrant who has advocated for refugees. So I thought they were already doing this, and yeah, he's been saying all along it's not going to be taxpayer money and so forth, but apparently they've changed belief systems here. There was another video that I came across, I think it was from this site, but it was right here. Here it is. Biblical Prophecy, New Age Agenda, Trump Temple. So it was somebody who was claiming that they're going to, that they're not building a ballroom, they're building the third temple, except it's going to be right next to the White House. I think that people are, it's good that they're thinking, but that is clearly not going to happen. Now, they could build a model of something that looked like it, but it's not going to be the third temple next to the White House. So people are collectively, I suppose, losing their minds over the ballroom. But perhaps rightfully so. It's definitely many, many millions of dollars at this point. And it wouldn't surprise me at all, whatever they do with it. But it's apparently Trump's number one thing that he's worried about right now, getting the ballroom built. So it must be awfully important. I came across this one. I think this was also on Daily Crow. The 2024 IDF bill and the question of extending U.S. military protections to the IDF. Military protections from the U.S. Some U.S. lawmakers have sought protections for Americans serving in the IDF, raising questions about fairness since U.S. benefits traditionally depend on service to the United States. A real policy push emerged in 2024 to extend certain legal protections to Americans who served in the IDF. In 2024, members of Congress introduced H.R. 8445, a bill that would have amended federal law to provide for the eligibility of United States citizens who serve in the Israeli Defense Forces for certain protections relating to such service. This is not an old article. This is dated April 27th, 2026. So really just like a week ago. Under current law, U.S. veterans' benefits are tied to service in the U.S. Armed Forces. The statutory definition of veteran, quote unquote, appears at, and then they give the code where it appears, and limits eligibility to those who served in U.S. military forces or narrow statutory exceptions. The proposal in H.R. 8445 would move away from that framework. So they want to give, or at least I don't think it passed, but they wanted to give Americans who are serving in the IDF military benefits. Isn't that lovely? That's on military.com. If you don't believe me, it is really there. This other video here that I started to watch, didn't get time to finish it. It's called The Weeping and Gnashing of Teeth Isn't About Hell. So that's something that we all think about, that they're always talking about hell, but that's not apparently what this video is about. And I didn't have time to finish it, but it's a pretty short video, 16 minutes. I was about a third of the way done. It says, weeping and gnashing of teeth appears 7 times in the Gospels, and every English Bible translates it the same way. Matthew 8 explained through the inner meaning of the Greek what the verse has actually been describing the whole time. The trail runs from a 5th century North African bishop through a Florentine poet and into every English transition that followed. Yeah, I think they're talking about Dante here. Dante's Inferno, remember? Along the way, a word in the Greek shifted in the Latin rendering, and the shift is why the phrase sounds like a threat about the afterlife instead of what the original text was actually naming. This is where biblical allegory and translation history cross paths. What viewers see is in this walk is a phrase that they have carried their whole life, reframed by its own original Greek. The verdict scenes that have haunted funerals and late night fears stop reading as a map of a location and start reading as a description of something happening in the body. What arrives at the end is not a new doctrine, but a different relationship with an old sentence, closer to the allegorical Bible reading that shaped the earliest Christian commentary. So anyway, that's what the description of the video says here. I thought it was kind of an interesting idea. The weeping and gnashing of teeth is not about hell. So anyway, that's a video that we'll link to in the Substack post, but you can find that link on Daily Crow. I think that's where I got that one. Yeah, okay. And then Singularity Hub. Quantum computers are coming to break cryptography faster than anyone expected. Algorithmic advances are steadily lowering the bar for quantum attacks even before large-scale hardware exists. This is something that Anthony Patch has been talking about for many years, about how it will be able to break cryptography, and in fact already was doing that. Online data is generally pretty secure, assuming everyone is careful with passwords and other protections. You can think of it as being locked in a vault so strong that even all the world's supercomputers working together for 10,000 years could not crack it. But last month, Google and others released results suggesting a new kind of computer, a quantum computer, not that new, is it, might be able to open the vault with significantly fewer resources than previously thought. Yeah, and it won't take 10,000 years. The changes are coming on two fronts. On one, tech giants such as IBM and Google are racing to build ever larger quantum computers. IBM hopes to achieve a genuine advantage over classical computers in some special cases this year, and even more powerful fault-tolerant system by 2029. On the other front, theorists are refining quantum algorithms. Recent work shows that the resources needed to break today's cryptography may be far fewer than earlier estimates. The net result? The day quantum computers can break widely used cryptography, portentously dubbed Q-Day, may be approaching faster than expected. The quantum hardware race. Anyway, there's a bit more here on this Singularity Hub article talking about quantum computers. Yeah, there's quite a bit here, actually. Anyway, that one I thought was somewhat interesting. All right, and then this one from Newsweek. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. We were talking about Trump's narcissism earlier tonight. Trump's portrait to be added to U.S. passports in an unprecedented move. So if you go get a U.S. passport soon, you will also have not only your picture, but Trump's picture too. Oh, brother. U.S. State Department is finalizing plans to include President Donald Trump's portrait on new passports in what would be the first time a sitting president has been featured on official travel documents. The new passport design features the president on the inside cover to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. independence, State Department told Newsweek. One design included Trump's signature in gold. Yeah. I was looking at... Here it is. I was going to say, I knew I saw a picture. Here's his signature in gold. And there he is. On the passports. I wonder how long until he decides to have his face plastered on the dollar bill or the whatever, $10 bill or the $50 bill or whatever. I wonder how long until that happens. Or on Mount Rushmore. Well, here, it says the current passport design depicts Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. Oh, the current passport design has Mount Rushmore. Well, that's okay. He's going to put his face on Mount Rushmore too, probably. So you'll get it either way. If it's a picture of Mount Rushmore, it'll have Trump on it. If it is just a portrait of him on your passport, then he's going to get there either way, it looks like. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of strange, and it is Newsweek reporting it, so of course they would never lie. No, I'm sure that's probably 100% true, unfortunately. He does like himself. Okay, mentioned this earlier. Breaking: James Comey under arrest, surrenders to law enforcement at federal courthouse. Former FBI Director James Comey is under arrest in court in Alexandria, Virginia, after a grand jury indicted him on 2 felony counts related to his Trump assassination Instagram post. "Cool shell formation on my beach walk," quote unquote. Comey said in his caption in May 2025. Gosh, that's been a year already. 8647 is a threat to eliminate or kill the 47th POTUS. All right, here it is. Yeah, so he put the shells in that formation, then he acted like he just ran across it. "Cool shell formation on my beach walk," he says. U.S. Marshals were asked to provide Comey with an indictment, and they issued an arrest warrant on Tuesday. Read the indictment here. Comey is facing up to 20 years in prison. James Comey is under arrest at the federal courthouse in Alexandria, but his case will be litigated in the Eastern District of North Carolina. 2 felony counts. Count 1, knowingly and willfully making a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States. That's count 1. So they're getting him on this. Of all of the laws that he broke, all the illegalities of all that stuff that he did while he was a corrupt person in charge of the FBI, they might get him on this? That seems a little crazy to me. It's the shells that are going to do him in. Knowingly and willfully, this is count 2, knowingly and willfully did transmit in interstate and foreign commerce a communication that contained a threat to kill the president, Donald Trump. So, I mean, yeah, him and millions and millions and millions of other people on social media have done that. Of course, the difference is he was the former FBI director. I understand that. And you can't do that. So I don't think it will stop people from wanting Trump gone, do you? Not that that was ever the goal here, but pretty interesting that they've decided to arrest him and file charges. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Thought this one was kind of funny. This is on a website called the Floridian Press. Randy Fine, you remember him, big as a house, right? Randy Fine says that dual citizens should not serve in Congress. Yeah, he said that. Quote, "We have foreigners who serve in the United States Congress who have sworn an oath of allegiance to another country," end quote. Is he just looking in the mirror and literally writing what he does with Israel? Because it sure seems that way. But he's saying this, talking about other people, but doesn't see it as a problem when it's him and Israel. Here's what he's talking about. He's talking specifically, and he's not wrong on this. He's talking specifically about Ilhan Omar, a Somali-born congresswoman who has faced repeated calls for expulsion. The Florida congressman denied even as she would possibly qualify, meaning for expulsion. "I do not have any knowledge that she's still a citizen of Somalia," he said. I mean, she certainly acts like she is. I think part of the problem with Congress today is that we do not know who all the dual citizens are. That's a good question. I wonder if he is a dual citizen. If you see a picture of him in his office, he has the U.S. flag, but an even bigger and more in front Israeli flag in front of the U.S. flag. I've seen a picture of his office before. Unless he's changed it, that's how it looks. So I would question him. Is he a dual citizen of Israel in the United States? He's specifically talking about Omar in this, Ilhan Omar. And I get it. He's not wrong about that, but he's kind of missing the point here that one could also say that most of Congress are in fact dual citizens of not only the U.S., but Israel. That's been a proven thing. Many people have talked about that for a long time. Anyway, way to go, Randy Fine. Good one. More than a third of all new podcasts are AI generated. Synthetic podcasts just keep coming up. In 2024, Google rolled out what was at the time a pretty startling new feature as part of its Notebook LM AI suite. Audio digests of information that were essentially podcasts, sometimes featuring oddly familiar sounding synthetic voices. It was a whole new implementation of generative AI, but it's not new anymore, and AI proliferation moves pretty fast. So today, AI-generated podcasts account for no less than a third of new podcast feeds, according to New Feeds Report, an open-sourced site called Podcast Index. Can you believe that? A third of the podcasts out there are AI. The bizarre bluster from leadership at the companies that make these podcasts seem to be targeted at investors, not would-be listeners. For instance, in September of last year, Janine Wright, CEO of AI podcasting company called Inception Point AI, told The Hollywood Reporter, "We believe that in the near future, half of the people on the planet will be AI." Wait a minute. Half of the people on the planet will be AI, and we are the company that's bringing those people to life. How about that for a quote? We believe that in the near future, half of the people on the planet will be AI. What happens to the other half of the people? Are they dead? And the company that's bringing those people to life is her company. I don't like the sound of that. And you have my word that this particular podcast will never be an AI-generated podcast. Computers don't like me that much anyways. All right, let's see here. I thought that one was weird. That's on Gizmodo. Got several natural news articles tonight. Iran's injured supreme leader rejects U.S. nuclear demands, threatens the Strait of Hormuz. Khamenei rejects Trump demands. Nuclear capabilities and U.S. stance. Strait of Hormuz blockade global impact. Supreme leader's condition and absence. Yeah, he's apparently pretty banged up after the bombs that blew up his father and several other members of his family and injured him. Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei succeeded his father, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, after the first U.S. strikes of the war, killed the elder leader. The younger Khamenei was said to have been injured in those strikes and has not been seen publicly since. Yeah. His latest statements, issued via state media, marks the third such message since his disappearance, though no proof of his condition has been released by officials. So we don't know. They're saying that he's saying these things, but there's no way to prove it. The Times of Israel reported that Khamenei's message on Thursday was read by a state television anchor, continuing a pattern of written statements. So perhaps he's able to dictate a message or something. I don't know. Conclusion: stalemate and global stakes. The standoff between the U.S. and Iran remains deadlocked, and both sides showing little sign of compromise. Trump has continued the naval blockade and threatened renewed strikes, while Khamenei vows to maintain Iran's nuclear and missile programs. The closed Strait of Hormuz continues to disrupt global energy markets, pushing oil prices higher and raising inflation concerns. Analysts have noted that the war has already cost the U.S. between $25 billion and $67 billion. Somewhere in that range, between $25 and $67 billion. No one knows. Depending on the estimate, with no clear end in sight, Iran's ballistic missile threat, though degraded by airstrikes, remains potent, with intelligence assessments indicating that Iran retains thousands of missiles that can be recovered from underground launchers. The situation underscores the challenges of achieving a diplomatic resolution as both sides hold firm to their positions. So anyway, that is just really a small part of this whole article, but that's on Natural News. Article by Garrison Vance. Not all of these articles are by Mike Adams, but indeed some of them are. Okay, and here's another one. Pentagon's secret project to merge soldiers and machines raises alarms as neural interface program goes dark. I don't think that means goes away. I think that means goes more undercover. Phase 3 lasted 18 months and involved teams integrating those components into a working system and testing them in living animals to determine if the system could actually read from and write to the brain safely and effectively. So again, merging soldiers with machines. Pattern of secrecy and unprecedented weapons. The dangers of merging man and machine. I don't think they will cling together, do you? Here's Dr. James Giordano. He's one of those crazy, doctors who are looking at this stuff. Battlescape Brain, it's called. This is a presentation he gave. DARPA advisor admits publicly that Neuralink is old tech and that DARPA has officially achieved brain control. So there you go. And again, this guy knows what he's talking about, unfortunately. He's a kind of a Dr. Evil sort of guy. Dr. James Giordano. So that is on Natural News. Kind of an interesting article there. Okay, got two more from the same site, so let's see what this one is. Family captures image of unidentified object near Joshua Tree National Park and military bases. I don't know that that's it, but that's kind of interesting. A family of 4 hiking in Joshua Tree in October of 2023 observed and photographed an unidentified flying object. Was described as a dumbbell or H-shaped object made of highly reflective silver material, and estimated to be the size of a car or a small plane. So I guess this is pretty accurate. The sighting occurred within a few miles of the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center at 29 Palms and approximately 115 miles from Edwards Air Force Base. Yeah, experimental aircraft in the 40s. Yep. So who knows? Generally, these types of objects that are seen, especially around bases like that, are going to be, I wouldn't even say reverse engineered, but perhaps reverse engineered. Certainly United States military tech, not spaceships, not space aliens. In general, that is probably the one thing that Stephen Greer talks about that he says that I agree with. I think that oftentimes, more often than not, these sightings are simply U.S. military tech. Whether or not they've reverse engineered something from somewhere, who knows? But it's them causing the problems, not little green men. It says details of the sighting. The family reported that the object moved slowly and erratically near Ryan Mountain, according to the Daily Mail. They watched it for about 45 minutes during a solar eclipse, noting that it would blink out of sight and then reappear at a different location. The craft appeared to have 2 large panels at each end, giving a shape reminiscent of a TIE fighter from the Star Wars films. The witnesses stated that the object was clearly larger than a typical kite or balloon, leading them to believe it was a structured vehicle. Proximity to military testing sites, and so forth. Trump comments on UFO disclosure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm guessing it'll be kind of like the JFK files, release stuff that people already know about. Not necessarily much new information, but we'll see. And I thought this one was kind of interesting just because I knew Mike Adams, who wrote this, was really on the pro-NVIDIA bandwagon. As far as I heard him specifically talking about this computer, and he was really excited to buy one when it would come out, and apparently it has come out. Says, I bought NVIDIA's $4,700 personal AI supercomputer, and then lost all optimism for NVIDIA. The promise that sold me. When NVIDIA launched Project Digits at CES 2025, I was genuinely excited. The promise was clear: a $4,699 desktop AI supercomputer with a GB10 Grace Blackwell chip, 128 gigabytes of unified memory, 1 petaflop of FP4 compute, and dual 200 gigabyte GBE network ports. I saw it as my ticket to running large language models locally without cloud dependency, a tool for real decentralized AI development, as I reported at the time. I remember him saying that. This was supposed to democratize AI and put supercomputing power on your desk. He says, I placed my order and waited. And then when it arrived, he says, I unboxed it with the same anticipation I felt for every piece of serious hardware that I've used to build my own AI infrastructure. He's a guy that built Brightlearn, and his AI model, his AI large language model called Enoch. So he knows what he's talking about. He used it to build his own AI infrastructure, but what I found inside was not a revolution. It was a machine where every single headline number comes with a devastating asterisk. The networking can't deliver its rated speed. The marquee NVFP4 software stack crashes in production paths, and the memory bandwidth is a hard ceiling that makes large model decode painfully slow. I've spent weeks testing this machine, and I've concluded that NVIDIA shipped an unfinished platform and expected early adopters to debug it for them. So let's just say Mike's not too happy with that. Value versus reality, what else $4,700 gets you? So he's got quite a bit of info on this article. It says, why I'm done with NVIDIA. I used to be a fan of Jensen Huang. He's from Taiwan, where I lived for a few years. Now I increasingly see him as a sales hypester. That's totally what he is. Pushing product fantasies that don't ship on time, don't perform to spec, and simply aren't worth the money. It all seems like vaporware, gaslighting, to pump up NVIDIA's stock price now. Well, that's exactly what's going on. Welcome to reality, Mike. Yeah, I hate that, but I'm not surprised. I remember him being really excited about this so-called desktop supercomputer, but maybe not so much. A little too early for all of that, I think. But NVIDIA's trying it. They're trying to sell a whole bunch of those, and probably will, unfortunately, but people won't be too happy with it when it won't do what they're expecting. This is the new site, AlexJonesLive.com, and here's what happens when you go to Infowars. Infowars.com, you get off-air. Off-air. Infowars.com is off-air. And that also means band.video, which is where I get some of the videos that I show on the show, is also off-air. Band.video. Same thing, see. They no longer exist. They were taken down, and I don't think there is I don't know if there's a plan for a version of band.video to come back. I'm hoping there will be, but I don't know. But Infowars.com is now AlexJonesLive.com. So without missing a beat at all, they literally just shut the power off on Thursday night and switched on the power over at the new studios, and they're up and running. So this is the new site. Anyway, just wanted to mention that Alex isn't going anywhere, and you would think that the people trying to take him out would realize that, but they don't. So anyway, Alex launched his new network, and then he's already doing new shows from there as of last Friday. All right, and then let's see here. Just in, Tucker Carlson says U.S. President Trump is being held hostage by Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu. No kidding. Alex Jones breaks down why Tucker Carlson is right when the former Fox host says Trump is beholden to Israeli PM Netanyahu. Yeah, which that's, of course, 100% true. AJ returns less than a day after the Soros Democrat party run court order shut down InfoWars. Alex and crew return live to the airwaves with the launch of the new network. So, their attempt to take him down didn't exactly go as planned. But apparently they want the Onion parody company, who has now been connected directly to making videos that are related to child abuse and kiddie porn, stuff like that. Not good. So they want the InfoWars URL, and they want the set in particular to make their own videos. Apparently, the Onion does. So whatever it is, I don't think it's going to work. People will see what they're doing. Hopefully, and not pay any attention to them. All right, vaccineimpact.com, most accurate location tracking tech on the planet and GPS alternative unveiled from secretive tech company. Plugged in artificial life, unplugged real life. It's a good side-by-side comparison, huh? Yesterday, this person, McAvoy, writing for the tech publication The Information, published an exclusive report about a secretive tech company named Zynar, which has been working for 9 years to develop superior tracking technology that can track people's locations even inside buildings, something that satellite-based current GPS tracking technology cannot do. The company is now coming out of the shadows in the pursuit of contacts to use its technology, as the company is now valued at around $1 billion. Wow. Daniel Jacker, the CEO and co-founder of Zynar, invited McAvoy to, it's the person that he's writing about here, to see the first ever public demonstration of their technology, which they claim is the most accurate location tracking tech on the planet, capable of pinpointing an object's whereabouts within inches, indoors and outdoors, from a great distance away. Wow, that is not good news. What I'm going to do with the rest of this article is report on this technology as well as other recent technologies coming out of the AI spending frenzy to illustrate what the true dangers are of this emergent technology as opposed to the AI hype surrounding it that tends to grab the headlines and therefore minimizes the actual dangers that this technology poses for all of us. I'll give you the spoiler to this article now. We are not powerless against this emerging technology. The solution remains the same and quite simple. Just unplug and stop using their products and services. We have multiple generations now that have grown up on this technology and falsely believe that it's essential to our lives. They have no memory of the not-so-distant past that the older generations lived through, where we did not even carry around cell phones nor have access to the internet for most of our lives growing up. Yeah, and praise the Lord on that one, right? It's a good thing we didn't have social media when we were kids. Most of us. It's no surprise, therefore, that the new movements among the younger generations are gaining steam around the concept of unplugging from the digital artificial world and spending more time in the real world with real life. Here we have, this is life, this is not life. Anyway, it goes into this whole Zynar company. $5 billion in deals for a GPS alternative. I'm looking to see how it works and why it's so much better. Exclusive, Zuckerberg tells his Meta employees, "We're tracking you because you're really smart." Lovely. Anthropic's Mythos, greatest cybersecurity threat ever to the banking industry. Something we mentioned a couple weeks ago on this show. Anyway, yeah, there's quite a bit here on this article on vaccine impact. Unplugging from artificial life and plugging into this life sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good. Okay, we've got a Not the Bee article, and thought this one was weird because it's kind of similar to that, I guess, to the last article. Prego, the spaghetti sauce, is selling a surveillance device that records your family dinner conversations and sends them to the Library of Congress. And then it says it's sold out immediately. Prego Pasta Sauce announced they were teaming up with StoryCorps, StoryCorps, to create a device that would store pasta while also eavesdropping on, recording, and, according to some reports, uploading your family's dinner conversations to the Library of Congress. That sounds a little far-fetched, doesn't it? But I'm sure it's probably true. It says, one of the strangest moves of 2026, pasta sauce maker Prego just launched a device to capture families' mealtime discussions. They claim all recordings are private, but when uploaded, the recordings are saved to the Library of Congress. 2026, even spaghetti needs your data. Why would that be? It gets even crazier. The device is sold out almost instantly. Probably picked up by some guys in an unmarked van, says. To be fair, though, Prego promised the devices won't upload your conversations without permission. That seems pretty innocent. I guess we're supposed to believe that one. Prego X StoryCorps Connection Keeper is a simple AI-free, screen-free device designed to help families create an audio scrapbook of the moments that matter most. See what they're doing here? It captures the everyday conversations you wish to preserve, your kids' voices, and how was your day chats, the laughter and stories shared around the table, so you can revisit them for years to come with just the press of a button. Families can record meaningful moments in real time. The device is not connected to the internet and does not use Wi-Fi or AI, allowing you to capture memories without phones, screens, or distractions getting in the way. But seriously, despite their best assurances, I've got enough to worry about with my AI-infested phone. The last thing I need is to have to wonder whether there are spies in my pasta. Isn't that strange? Prego. I see what they're doing, though. You see, they're couching it in a memorable family moment. So that is the not the B article I had for you guys tonight. I thought that one was a little odd. But yeah, it does kind of make sense that they're trying to sell it that way. Clearly it worked. I was hoping they would show a picture of the device, but they did not. No pictures. All right, let's see here. GeoWatch for this week. Global Alert News, May 2nd. Worst spring drought on record grips U.S., fueling wildfires and water worries. That's an AOL headline. I didn't even know AOL was still around. I guess they are. Farmers across America face biblical drought as crops fail and herds shrink. Weaponizing the weather, the nanoparticle fallout from climate engineering operations are ubiquitously contaminating the biosphere and completely disrupting the global hydrological cycle. Exposing and halting global climate engineering operations, the great imperative of our time. That effort will take all of us. The latest installment of Global Alert News is right here. Weaponizing U.S. Drought is the name of it. Episode 560. 560. Yeah, he always says he's never missed a week, and that's true. Not sure how many weeks 560 is, but that's a lot. Anyway, that is on geoengineeringwatch.org. My good friend Mr. Dane put that one out this week. I was looking to see if we had any other. We didn't have any other videos this week, but make sure you guys are on the email list. Sign up for that for free. You can do that from the website here. And then, let's see. It looks like we are back to the scheduled weather, split down the middle, valid May 9th through 13th. So we have the hot side hot, cool side cool. The east side of the U.S. is going to stay relatively cool, below normal temps, except for Florida. The rest of it, though, looks like pretty much the split down the middle, and then way hot or way warmer above normal temps out west. And then based on that, let's look at this one. climate reanalyzer. Should look similar. So again, we have a hot western side of the U.S. and a cool or cooler eastern side, right? That's what we see here. This is 7 to 10 days out starting May 9th. It looks like the hottest areas are going to be about 12 degrees above normal in Vegas and pretty much all of California and even Oregon. 12 degrees above normal. That's pretty darn warm. And then back east, we have, where I am, about 1 degree below normal. In the northern plain states, I guess, in the Midwest, you're talking really 7 degrees below normal. Like in Michigan. 6 degrees below normal in like Wisconsin and Minnesota. 3 degrees below normal. So yeah, it's a little cooler up there, and about average more or less from Texas on eastward, except Florida. So yeah, that's 7 to 10 days out, again, starting May 9th. So let's go back. Let's go backwards more towards today's date. As of May the 6th, we have even cooler temps. So the immediate future, we have cooler temps here in the eastern part of the U.S. and really even the middle part of the U.S. 10 degrees below normal, 6 degrees below normal where I am, but 10 degrees even in spots like in Missouri and Oklahoma. So it's going to be pretty cooler for the next little bit. 1 to 3 days out, really just starting today. It looks like it's a lot cooler, but it's just the color coding they're using for this map, because for the most part, this is 0 to 4 degrees cooler than normal. So that's not a lot. But still, though, when you look at what's actually going on with the temperatures across the board going up in pretty much the rest of the world, then as Dane says, the anomalously cool zone is really the eastern half of the United States, but they can at times cool off pretty much the whole U.S. And note that it's not all red here, but I think as we approach the actual summer months, we will start seeing more and more red, and it will be pretty much staying that way, is my guess. They will be able to chemically ice nucleate some areas and prevent, the hotter temperatures all the time, especially in the eastern half of the U.S. They seem to have that science down by taking moisture from the Gulf and cooling it down, and then making sure by controlling the jet stream, making sure that the eastern half of the U.S. stays cool. And they're doing this routinely. They've been doing it for years. That's why people in the United States think that the whole world is nice and cool, because the eastern half of the United States is cool most of the time. And point in case here, and here, and here. They can chemically ice nucleate, and in fact do. So that's something Dane's been talking about for a long time. Okay, so that is the weather update for this week, the scheduled weather update. And speaking of chemical ice nucleation, this is more of the same. Ice from heaven. I would put a question mark in there. Record-breaking Texas hail and ancient plagues reborn. So I wouldn't read too much into this, because it is chemical ice nucleation. That's how they're able to get these crazy hailstorms that are being developed on purpose. Thunderstorm followed by hail and heavy rain, bad weather, high-quality professional photography, this says. Yeah, it is a high-quality professional picture. But yeah, you can see it. It's coming down here, and kind of somewhat unusual for May, but May in Texas. But, you can see how large these pieces are here. But this is not, in my opinion, this is not God revisiting ancient plagues. This is chemical ice nucleation. It's a patented process. It's been around for a long time. And that's what we're seeing here, not blaming God for this. Of course, you could look at it the other way and say, well, he's allowed this to happen. And that's true. He will make it all right one day. Look how big this chunk of ice is. They've got rightfully so, a monster drink right beside it. They turned it sideways so you couldn't see the lovely insignia on the Monster can. But it is sitting right next to this massive piece of hail that was collected in Texas at some point. So they're not wrong. Hundreds of, if not more, cars are heavily damaged at the Springfield Branson National Airport after a devastating hail event earlier today. That was April 28th. So you could see the smashed car windshields. Again, chemical ice nucleation is not God throwing balls of fire here. It's not. That's not what it is. This is explainable, is what I'm saying. So that's kind of where they're going with this. I'm guessing there's going to be some scripture here somewhere. That's what I was looking for. To try and prove that it's, the biblical echo. Fire and ice. See? So this is Israel365.com. This is, of course, where they would go with this. Hail, the seventh plague that God brought upon Egypt, was unnatural, a clear manifestation of divine displeasure, and not an ordinary weather event. Well, that's true. And that was real. But they didn't have chemical ice nucleation in those days. They didn't have geoengineering planes changing the weather for them. Anyway, there's quite a bit here on this article if you wanted to check into that. But that is kind of interesting that Israel 365 is reporting on what's going on with the weather in Texas. But it's only because they wanted to basically blame God for it. Okay, and then this one, I thought, oh my gosh, they're finally reporting on something from Ron Wyatt. And then I read some of the article, and turns out, no, not exactly. So here's what's going on. And we mentioned this last week. It's like they keep coming up with all these things that they're trying to prove is true, or maybe they are proving they're true, but Ron Wyatt already proved they were true decades ago. Well, this is another one of those stories. Check this one out. Archaeologist says the lost ark is beneath Jerusalem and new technology can find it without moving a stone. Well, he's right about the first part. It is in Jerusalem, but it's already been found. It was found in the 1980s. And looks similar to that. Modern day Ark of the Covenant displayed in Jerusalem on October 20th, 2024. But Ron Wyatt found it in, I think it was 1981. Is that right? For millennia, the Ark of the Covenant has been the most sought after relic in human history. Now, a biblical archaeologist from Tennessee, this is where I was thinking, okay, this has got to be about Ron Wyatt. But it's not. A biblical archaeologist from Tennessee believes the answer to its whereabouts may lie not in a distant land, but directly beneath the ancient stones of Jerusalem. And he has the technology to prove it. Dr. Chris McKinney, Associate Professor of Biblical Archaeology at Lipscomb University, I know exactly where that is, has put forward a serious academic hypothesis. The Ark may be concealed in subterranean voids beneath the city of David. Sounds like he's been watching Ron Wyatt videos. The archaeological site immediately south of the Temple Mount, which, by the way, the archaeological site immediately south of the Temple Mount is where the first two temples were. They weren't on Temple Mount. It says where the Jewish temples once stood. So even this is saying, well, they're saying in this sentence, the archaeological site immediately south of the Temple Mount where the Jewish temples once stood. They didn't stand on Temple Mount, which is what they're saying in this sentence. They stood in the city of David, which is, again, just down the hill from the Temple Mount. McKinney has even identified a cutting-edge instrument to test his theory, a muon detector. Or muon, I guess. Muon detector. M-U-O-N. Muon detector. So, yes, this is just amazing to me that they don't just go visit ronwyatt.com. The answers are right there. Muon detectors track subatomic particles produced when cosmic rays collide with the Earth's atmosphere. The particles penetrate deep into the ground, allowing scientists to map hidden structures and voids without disturbing a single stone. Early scans of the city of David have already revealed previously unknown subterranean openings beneath the site, and critically, because the ark is described in the Bible as overlaid entirely with gold inside and out, it would register unmistakably on such a scan. Well, you got to scan in the right place. They need to be in Zedekiah's cave, in that area, which I think is down around the corner a bit, but it's right there in Jerusalem. So anyway, I just thought that was funny because this has all already been found. They already know where it is. The Israeli Antiquity Association already knows exactly where it is, the Ark of the Covenant, and they can't touch it because it's not time. Not yet, but I do think we're getting close to being time. Archaeologist studies ancient sources in search of Ark of the Covenant in Legends of the Lost Ark. So maybe this is the guy, I don't know. But yeah, no mention of Ron, and of course, we can do that right now. I feel like we do this every week. But, people don't pay any attention to what he discovered. He's even from Tennessee, and they can't get that right. It's just so frustrating because it's like, if you just use the Holy Spirit, you will know that this is the true story. This is what happened. Ron found it, and here it is, Ark of the Covenant. There's all kinds of information about it. And his testimony, and it goes way back to the 80s. And there it is. We'll link to this in the Substack post. I'm looking to see if it mentions Zedekiah's cave, or this is talking about where the cross holes were, where Jesus was crucified. But yeah, it's in here for sure. Just got to find it, but it's in probably one of these videos. And multiple pages here on runwyatt.com. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting that this is in the news again. They're talking about the ark, and somebody somewhere will realize that it's already been found, and whenever the time is right, they will be able to access it. I don't know how that would work exactly, because I do know that, according to Ron, that when some of the people tried to go move it, they were going to, because it's enough on the Jordanian side, they tried to move the ark to take it to safety, quote unquote. When the people went down there, the rabbis went down there to move it, they got near it and all dropped dead. And then Ron had to be the guy to go in and fish them out one at a time. He tells that story. Pretty impressive and pretty believable the way he tells it, at least. So yeah, Ark of the Covenant, and I think that was the last article for tonight. Wanted to mention up there in the corner, we have the link tree, and that is how you keep in touch with everything I'm doing. So that is all on that one little scan. Just use your phone's camera to scan that, and it will take you to this page that we're looking at, and that has the links to everything. The Diamond Disc Substack, which is my Diamond Report on Substack, and then also on Subscribestar if you want to support what I'm doing. Looks like that. And I've got basic tiers to help me defray some of the costs of doing this show, which, honestly, just the live stream software alone runs me at least $50 a month. So it is some money out of the pocket there. So I would love to have help with that, and some of you have indeed stepped up to help me with that cost, and thank you very much. There are other costs as well, as you can imagine, with ongoing gear, equipment, and software and stuff like that for editing and broadcasting and so forth. So that's kind of a non-starter. We all know about that. And then we have the Substack, which is totally free, and you can sign up right there. diamonddisc.substack.com. You just put in your email address, and you'll be on the list, and you'll get the Tuesday mail out. Sometimes it's Wednesday, but usually I try and keep it to Tuesday. That will have all of the links for all of the articles that I talked about tonight in one email. It shows up right in your inbox. And a lot of really good comments here back and forth between you guys, and I'm glad you guys had a good chat there. I thought that was good. Matt's saying Donald Trump is a 15th cousin of King Charles. Is that true? I never heard that one before. But I've read through a lot of these, and I don't really see any questions necessarily directed at me. So I guess we can kind of just keep that to the fact that most comments were burned into the screen there, as you can see over there on the right side of the screen. So I think that's pretty handy. I'm glad you guys had a good conversation, and I guess we can wrap it up tonight. Now, we do have the last video that I promised you guys. So let's watch that, and I hope you guys have a really great and blessed week this week. And yeah, it's just 12 o'clock a.m. here, 5/4. Oh, it's May the 4th, Star Wars Day, as of right now. Yeah, so 5/4/26, and it will be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if the further bombings and stuff like that will kick in this week or not, but I do expect that will happen at some point pretty darn soon, unfortunately. The next broadcast will be Sunday night the 10th. May 10th will be the next Diamond Report Live at 9 p.m. Central Time will be the start time. So thank you guys for being here with me tonight. It's been a blessing to have you guys here, and please know that I don't take that for granted. I know your time is worth an awful lot, just like mine is as well, and that's all we have, ultimately, is our time and our attention to things. And thank you guys for being here and for knowing what's important, and that is certainly keeping the Lord Jesus Christ front and center in your life. And that's what this show is really about, ultimately, and also just about simply breaking news that proves we are living in the end times. And once again this week, I think we have done that. We continue to do that. That's one of the goals of this show. Miss Emily says, thank you, Doug. God bless and protect you and your family. Thank you. And same to you. And same to all of you. Great to be with you all again for another awesome broadcast. Yeah, thank you for always being there, Emily, and Miss Betty and Susan and Matt and everybody that's here tonight. Also saw a couple new people sort of chime in, so I wanted to say welcome to you guys. And don't want to forget about the Rumblers. We had another 5 people over there on Rumble watching, and then of course this show will get re-uploaded once I do some editing and little fixes here and there. Re-uploaded back to Rumble, and also BitChute and Brighteon as well. Probably at some point on either late tomorrow or Tuesday. So we'll see. Anyways, blessings to you all. Hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll do it again next week. And yes, stay tuned for this next shared screen here. So let me go ahead and do that whilst I am thinking about it. And this talk down of getting this guy off of the bridge is just, I thought, a really good way to end this broadcast tonight. So let's read through what this says. It says, wherever you're going through, you can get through it. Those are the words Officer Antonio Richardson shared with a young man on Sunday, April 12th. The young man was on top of the Dames Point Bridge, ready to take his own life. Let me look and see where that is. Dames Point Bridge is officially the Napoleon Bonaparte Broward Bridge, Jacksonville, Florida. Okay? So that's where that is. Our District 2 and 6 patrol officers responded to the bridge and spoke directly to the young man, sharing directly from their hearts. In that moment, our officers weren't the police. They were just people showing how much they care for another person. Thankfully, the young man decided to take Officer Richardson's hand and step off the bridge. We are here for you. We care about you. We do what we do every day because we care about you. If you're struggling with thoughts of suicide, please reach out to the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling or texting 988. This is a free resource available to you 24/7. I'm guessing that probably only works if you're in Jacksonville, Florida. But anyway, I just wanted to share that, and let's watch this video. So love you guys, and we will see you guys again real soon.
Whatever you're going through, man, you can get through it. No, listen, man, listen. Listen, you can get through this. Come on, let's talk about it for a minute. Can I at least have prayer with you? You believe in prayer, I know that. Can I at least have prayer with you? You mind if I just hold your hand and pray with you? Come on, man, touch my hand. Touch from this side. Look at my hand. Just touch my hand. Just touch my hand, man. I'm praying with you. You're hurting, but if you jump, you're gonna hurt other people. And they're gonna be hurting just like you're hurting now. The cycle got to stop of hurt. The sight of hurt got to stop.
I know you got a lot going on. You do. But whatever, if you make that jump, it is going to be 100 times worse for everyone you care about. I know you don't want to do that to them.
Ruin them.
Right there.
Come on, man. Come on, please. There you go, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.
There you go.
Come on, bro.
There you go.
Come on, man.
There you go.
Come on. Come on. It's all right. It's all right.
I love you. We all love you. We wear this badge for many reasons. This is the main reason. To reach those whom the devil thinks he got.
Negative. We haven't turned anything.
He ain't got you. We got you, all right?
Good.
Good. All right. Come on.